People are not born equal. That's the hard truth I learned at age 4. But that was my first and last setback. It all began in Keiki City in China with the news that a bioluminescent baby was born. After that, the exceptional individuals began popping up all over the world. The cause was unclear. There are many theories, from rats carrying a mutating virus to human evolution, even vampire bees. Or it could have simply been an accident that was beyond our control or knowledge. Time passed and the exceptional became the norm. Fantasy became reality. At present, 80% of the world's population consists of superhumans with special abilities. The world fell into chaos, and a new profession that everyone once only dreamed about entered the spotlight. Along with the exceptional abilities came an explosion in crime rate. While nations struggled to overhaul their legal systems, brave individuals took up the mantle of heroes straight out of comic books, protecting the people from evildoers. With public support, some quickly acquired the right to serve as heroes in an official capacity. Fantasy became reality. My name is Izuku Midoriya, and this is the story of how I became one of the world's great heroes, and arguably the greatest hero of other worlds as well. Izuku Midoriya happily writes about the newest hero that debuted that same morning into his notebook, titled Hero Analysis for the Future #13. This is a little, or big, hobby of his, to analyze quirks, fighting techniques, and even the personalities of any and all heroes that he is able to find. Hopefully, a lot of this information can help support his dream, and if not, it's a great way to keep his mind active. While he's engaging himself, his homeroom teacher swats a stack of papers across his desk and proclaims how it's time for the third-year class to start taking their future careers seriously. He, however, assumes that most of his students wish to become heroes. The students cheer in response, proving his assumption correct. One of his classmates, an old childhood friend named Katsuki Bakugo, scoffs at their classmates' cheers. He proceeds to spout on about his own superiority by declaring how he'll enter Ua High, the birthplace of heroes, and surpass even All Might, the #1 hero. Meanwhile, Izuku tries to be as invisible as possible, but that proves difficult, especially as the teacher carelessly mentions that he too wants to attend UA. This, of course, results in the entire class laughing and mocking him. Not exactly the best way to start the day. As Izuku tries to explain his reasoning, Bakugo slams his hand down, setting off an explosion that knocks the cinnamon bun off his desk. "Come on, Deku." The maniac towers over the cowering Izuku. "You're totally quirkless, and you think you can rub shoulders with me?" Izuku futilely scoots away. Wait, no, Kaken. I wasn't trying to compete with you. Not at all. It's just been my dream since I was little, and well, there's no harm in trying. Try? Try what? The entrance exam? Sparks and smoke from Bakugo's palms threaten to end Izuku's very existence. What can you even do? It's always like this ever since Izuku was classified as quirkless. This only justified what Bakugo had already known, that he's better than everybody else, especially Izuku. Bakugo had always had a giant ego, thinking that he's the most important and best person to have ever walked this goddamn planet. Because he was lucky to be born with a powerful quirk, a gift that he didn't earn and arguably didn't deserve. But that's reality. Sometimes those undeserving are given what others could only dream of having. However, there is always a chance that something will change one's destiny. In a galaxy far, actually in a galaxy very, very close. So close, in fact, that it's the same galaxy. Two spaceships are locked in an epic chase. A large menacing ship with lava-red sacks around the temples and a forward gun that makes up the frontal half of the main hull is firing lasers upon a small blue ship with green markings. The tiny spacecraft swiftly dances around the shower of lasers. However, despite its speed, the large cruiser is able to keep up and land a few solid hits. That said, the tiny ship is not without its own means of attack. The speedy spacecraft simultaneously aims two lasers at the large hull, carving into its side, resulting in a few explosions. From inside, the battleship's bridge, many black and red humanoid drones monitor and operate the ship's functions and guns. Hull damage 20%. A drone turns to its master from its post at a monitor. But the system is still operational. The commander of the battleship leans forward in his throne, his red eyes following the flight of their target. The commander of the ship is a real freak of nature, especially since his head resembles that of an octopus. His tentacles dangle from the front of his face like a beard. His skin is pale green with yellowish spots. Noticeably, he doesn't have a nose nor visible ears. He dons a black and red brownish armored suit with spiked shoulder and arm pads. The commander smashes his fist against the armrest. I have come too far to be denied. The Omnitrix shall be mine, and there is not a being in the galaxy that dare stand in my way. The battleship continues its onslaught. However, the little ship is clearly having trouble keeping its lead. A single shot hits the rear engine, causing the end of the blue ship to explode. The commander watches from his throne. Prepare the cannon. We will salvage the Omnitrix from the remains. As the enemy's large frontal cannon charges, a green sphere from atop, the tiny ship fires a green energy beam right at the bridge of the cruiser. The impact sets off a chain reaction of explosions that decimates the tower of the battleship with the commander inside. The octopus-faced being is sent flying back, screaming in pain as flames and shrapnel tear his body apart. Meanwhile, the cannon finishes charging and fires a large beam at the blue ship. 80% of the ship is blown away, leaving the main hull somewhat intact. Just before the hull is ripped apart by the vacuum of space, a silver pod is launched out of the hull. The pod flies through space until reaching the atmosphere of the blue and green planet below. The spherical pod crashes into the ocean. A large cloud of steam rises from the water as the pod floats back up to the surface. As the spherical pod bobs about the water, the ocean currents begin to push the pod towards where it's meant to be. The school day finally ends. Izuku scrolls through his phone, reading up on the incident from that morning. He reaches for his hero notebook, only for it to be swiped away. Bakugo holds the notebook up. We ain't done here, Deku. Bakugo's cronies laugh and jeer upon seeing the title of the notebook. See, come on. Give it back, Izuku begs. Bakugo sneers and claps his hands together, destroying the journal with a burning explosion. Izuku yelps in surprise as Bakugo unceremoniously throws it out the window. The best heroes out there. Well, they showed signs of greatness even as students. I'm a perfectionist. I'll be the first and only hero from this crappy public middle school. The first to win the honor of becoming a student at UA High. Bakugo sneers and grabs Izuku's shoulder. Smoke rises from his grip. In other words, don't you dare get into UA. A vindictive gleam from Bakugo's eyes dares Izuku to challenge him. Izuku is shaking, sweat dripping from his face. He can't even look Bakugo in the eye in fear of what his tormentor would do. Even so, he tries to say something. He opens his mouth. But words fail to form, giving Bakugo and his cronies an opportunity to belittle him. From seemingly nowhere, a firm hand grabs Bakugo's arm and flings it away, while also pushing the blonde backwards. Bakugo screeches, "What the fuck?" A cool, mocking voice sneers back at the bomber. "Sheesh, you really think you can be a hero when you act like that?" The newcomer combs back his greasy black hair. "Not to mention that foul mouth of yours." The mere presence of this person is enough to snap Izuku out of his daze. "Henzu." Bakugo growls as he eyes the intruder. Behind him, his cronies back off in fear of the new arrival. "Uichi, what are you doing here?" Henzu Uichi smirks in response, as if looking for trouble is fun for him. "What? Just because I'm in a different class doesn't mean I can't visit my best friend." With that, Henzu slings an arm over Izuku's shoulders. Henzu Uichi is a tall and fit young man with shoulder-length, black hair, pale skin, and dark brown eyes with black discolored marks around them, almost as if he hasn't slept for a period of time. His attire screams degenerate with his shirt untucked and unbuttoned. Even the sleeves are ripped off, and his pants are ripped. He also wears a padlock necklace with the number 11 on it. Bakugu's growl deepens as his hands begin to spark and smoke. Back off, Uichi. Now Blasty, that's no way to greet a friend. Henzu lets go of Izuku and pushes him back away from the hothead. As he does this, his other hand reaches for his back pocket. Shut up, you bastard, Bakugu blasts the taller teen. Izuku and the cronies are blinded by the flash. They cover their eyes from the smoke and dust. Bakugu smirks in satisfaction, but it quickly turns into shock. Henzu stands there completely unscathed. Well, his clothes are slightly burnt, but his uniform is so messed up already that it makes no difference. His entire body appears to have changed from skin and flesh to iron. Bakugu tusks and balls his fists. His glare is so intense, you would think that he's trying to blow Henzu up with his mind. Izuku begins mumbling to himself. That was Henzu's quirk, osmosis. It can absorb nearly any type of solid matter that he comes into contact with, and it allows him to transform his entire body into the substance. He can also absorb energy, mainly electricity, and discharge it. But admittedly, he does become more erratic and unpredictable when he does absorb energy. It's both a power and versatile quirk. Why? Shut up, Deku. Ah, sorry. Sheesh. Henzu jabs a finger into his ear in an attempt to recover his hearing. Do you ever stop shouting? Sparks fly out of Bakugu's palms. Shut the fuck up. Henzu glares at the blonde. Go home, Blasty. Huh? I said hit the road. He slides a large steel wrench out from his back pocket. Or are we going to have a problem? The sparks from Bakugu's hands die down as he eventually balls them into fists. Izuku watches from the sidelines. Henzu's amazing. He's probably the only one at this school that can rival Kaken. The only reason Bakugu doesn't go after him is because Henzu has no desire to be a hero. In fact, he's a thug. Seriously, the first time we met he actually threatened me for my money. He can also pick locks. Hey, Izuku. I'm pretty sure he's stolen a car before. Maybe 40% sure. Izuku. Also, there was that time he walked in with a blood stain on his shirt. He said it was fine since it wasn't his. Hey. And there was that other time. Thump, thump, thump. Quite spacing out, Henzu shouts as he bangs his knuckles against Izuku's skull. While Izuku was spacing out, he had placed the wrench back into his pocket, and his skin had returned to normal. Oh, sorry, Hechin. Dude, don't call me that. Oh, right, sorry. Hey, where's Kaken? The black-haired teen jabs a thumb at the door. They left already. Oh, okay. Izuku's eyes fall back to the floor as an awkward silence falls over them. Henzu takes a breath before looking Izuku in the eye. So, you going to tell me what that was about? And like that, Izuku is reduced to the cowering Deku from before. Nothing. It's just Kaken being Kaken. Izuku? Why, yeah. Why do you call him that? What? Blasty. Why do you call him Kaken? Well, he's not your friend. Izuku's eyes snap up to look at Henzu. Come on, Izuku, why do you defend him? Do you think he's going to pay your respect back? Do you think that you owe him something? Izuku can't come up with an answer. I mean, I get it. It would be useless to report him to the teachers or the principal. Henzu's face scrunches up in anger. This society will bend over backwards to please those that they view as perfect, as hero-worthy, and they'll trample anyone who doesn't fit that mold. Izuku's heart drops as he lets those words sink in, and he does have to agree. Even if he went to a teacher for help, he'll most likely be ignored or called a liar. And it would all be so Bakugu could be a hero. I know it sounds harsh, but face it, dude. He points directly at Izuku's chest. You don't have a quirk. Using his other hand, he touches a nearby outlet on the wall. You can't do what Blasty and I can do. He pulls his hand away from the outlet and electricity sparks out from his fingertips. You have to face reality, alright? Yeah, but I can try. A tear falls with Izuku's spirit. Silence occurs between the two, neither knowing what to do or say. Sheesh, I can't take this. That's enough to distract Izuku from his depression. Huh. Come on, let's get the hell out of here. I got a friend who can hook us up with some sweet car parts that may or may not have been stolen. Though I have to admit the guy's a rat. And I mean literally, he's actually a rat. But with porcupine quills. Izuku thinks about it, but decides against it. He's just not feeling up to hanging out right now. Thanks, Henzu. But I should head home. You sure? Izuku simply nods his head in response. His eyes don't meet the taller teen's gaze. Alright, I'll see you later, dude. And try not to let Blasty walk all over you, okay? Okay? And with that, Henzu takes off to who knows where, leaving Izuku to his thoughts. As Izuku heads home and retrieves his notebook from a fish pond, his thoughts recount his latest encounter with his former friend and his current friend the entire time. Admittedly, they have some very good points. Why bother trying? He's quirkless. How can he ever hope to become a hero, let alone pass the UA entrance exam? How can someone so powerless, so useless, hope to become a hero? He remembers an old video that he loved to watch as a kid, where All Might saves 100 lives, and all with a gigantic and inspiring smile on his face. And he remembers that despite how hopeless, despite being quirkless, no matter how many people doubt him, he must continue to smile. With a determined look, he straightens up and tries to mimic All Might's laugh. I have to keep my chin up and keep moving forward. Unknown to the turmoiled youth, a green sludge begins to ooze its way out from the sewers and reform itself into a monstrous shape. The sludge gurgles as eyes form from the top of the abomination. A medium-sized skin suit to hide in. And just like that, Izuku found himself surrounded by the nasty substance. The sludge swirled around his body, clawing towards his face. The villain's mouth forms above Izuku's head. Don't worry. I'm just hijacking your body. It'll only hurt for a few seconds. Then it'll all be over. Izuku's notebook falls to the ground as he claws at the villain's fluid body, but it's no use. I can't breathe. My body. Getting weak. I'm dying. I'm gonna die. His struggling weakens. Someone help. I'm dying. Tears stream out from the poor boy's eyes as sludge and despair consume him. His vision turns to black. Suddenly a manhole cover is launched away, and from it appears a man that is the epiphany of heroism. All Might. I am here. Texas Smash. The sludge villain never stood a chance as his entire body is blown away by the sheer power of All Might's punch. The hero moves so quickly, he is able to siphon the villain into a soda bottle he happened to be carrying. Another job well done. HM? All Might looks over and notices Izuku unconscious on the ground. Oops, I hope I didn't hurt him. Bending down, the muscular hero checks the kid's pulse. He's breathing. That's good, and I don't see any injuries. Doing a quick scan of the area, All Might notices a notebook. What's this? All Might grabs the burnt journal and opens it up. Ah, so his name is Izuku Midoriya. He continues to scroll through the pages and reads a couple of entries. Wow, these are written in great detail. These are very impressive. He must have some kind of analysis type quirk. After checking out a few more pages, All Might suddenly slams the book closed. Wait, I can't go through his stuff, especially if I was the one who knocked him out. I know. I'll give him an autograph. Yes, All Might skips to the first clean page he finds and signs it. But seriously, I should make sure that he's okay. The giant bends down and begins to lightly slap Izuku's face. Hey, oh, thank goodness. Izuku's eyes fly open, and in front of him stands the greatest hero known to man. The number one hero, the symbol of peace, All Might. He's absolutely amazing. He's larger than life with an immortal smile and amazing hair. He's even drawn differently. And it gets better. All Might even signed Izuku's hero notebook already. Wow. Thank you so much. It'll be my family heirloom. I should have figured that he was a fanboy. All Might waves him off. Now I must bring this fellow to the station. See you on the flip side. Wait, A pro battles not only enemies but also time. Wait, I need to ask you something. Sorry, no time. Try sending a message through my site. And with that, the number one hero launches himself into the air. Thanks for your continued support. While in midair, All Might can't help but notice some extra weight. The hero takes a look. Hey, now, clinging to his leg is the green fanboy. Hey, let go. I love my fans, but this is too much. Izuku struggles to speak in with the wind. If I let go now, I'll die. Oh, that's a good point. I need to ask you something. All Might ga. Okay, just cover your eyes and mouth. Izuku shuts his eyes and uses All Might's leg as a shield to block the wind. As All Might grabs the kid's back, he can't help but feel his throat scratching at him. And then a trickle of blood forms from the side of his mouth. Damn. After a few minutes of falling with style, the two of them land on top of an apartment building where the greenette keels over wheezing in fear, while All Might instructs him on knocking on the door until someone lets him down. And with that, All Might prepares to jump once again. Wait. No, I will not wait. Mustering what little courage he has, Izuku asks the fated question. Can someone without a quirk become a hero like you? All Might pauses, considering the young man's question. Without a quirk, suddenly a sharp pain courses through All Might as steam begins to pour out of his body. Oh no, damn it all. I'm a kid without any powers. That's why. Maybe that's why. I think that saving people is just about the coolest thing someone can do. His speech and fondness for heroes gets to him, and finally he smiles cheerfully at his hero with great admiration. The way you save people with that fearless smile. I want to be a great hero, just like Wad. Slouched in front of the surprised teen is a skinny blonde-haired skeleton. After freaking out for a minute, the crippled All Might explains his condition. He explains that he was injured 5 years ago, and now he can only do hero work for about 3 hours a day. Even now, this information is strictly classified and not known to the public. If that were to occur, chaos and villainy would surely ensue. So Izuku promises not to go blabbing about it. At the end, All Might brings the conversation back to Izuku's question. A symbol of peace who saves people with a smile must never be daunted by evil. The reason I smile is to stave off the overwhelming pressure I feel. This revelation is a major shock to Izuku. The hope in his heart begins to fade. A hero should always be ready to risk his life. As for your question, Izuku's heart cracks as despair begins to take root. His mind reels back to the years of torment he's faced by the hands of Bakugo, the laughter and mocking of his classmates, the indifference of strangers and his teachers, the lack of support from his mother, and how his father is no longer present in his life. One can only assume why he left. No, I don't think you can become a hero without a quirk. And just like that, Izuku's dream is crushed. All Might tries to give the boy some comfort with little effect. He says something about how noble it is to help others, and that if he wants to do good, then he should just join the police. But nothing really registers with Izuku's broken spirit, except for the last thing that the number one hero says to him. It's not wrong to dream, but you need to be realistic. And with that, the injured hero leaves the boy to his inner sorrow and pain. All Might rubs his head, sighing in grief. That could have gone better. Maybe I should have been a bit easier on the kid. After all, I know where he's coming from. All Might reaches for the bottle in his pocket. Now to get you to the station, huh? Swiveling back and forth, All Might becomes very aware that he lost the sludge villain. Damn it. The bottled villain moans in pain as his vision returns. Where am I? What happened? The sludge villain realizes that he's still under the same bridge. He recalls attacking the green-haired kid and then getting beaten by All Might. Oh, yeah, he showed up. He shakes with rage from within his plastic prison. Damn you, All Might. Well, what do we have here? Asks a sarcastic male voice. The villain peers up and sees a kid with greasy black hair. Hey, kid, let me out, will ya? The kids grin mischievously. Sure, I'll help you out, you villain. Thanks, kid, wait, what did you say? Please, you're a pile of sludge and you're stuck inside a bottle. Obviously, a hero must have done this to ya. Am I right? So, what if they did? Listen, if you don't release me, then You'll what? The kid grabs onto a nearby light post. Electricity sparks out of the pole and flows towards the teen's body. Kill me? The kid raises his other hand, and from it electricity discharges, striking the ground and metal nearby. The teen's grin widens with malice. You can go ahead and try. The villain doesn't respond, now that he understands the full scope of his situation. Electricity is one of the few things that can actually hurt him. To be honest, if you are a villain, then I'm more inclined to help you. Huh? Really? This honestly take the sludge villain by surprise. Yeah, you bet. But there's something you gotta do for me. Sure, anything you want. Hee hee. There's someone I want you to get rid of for me. Izuku is in a daze as he stumbles home. He's too stunned to notice what direction he's walking in. He's so out of it that he barely blinks an eye when he falls over the ledge of the local beach. He lands roughly on the sand below, luckily without getting to many bruises. Sitting up, Izuku hazily peers at all the garbage towering over him. Sighing, he pushes himself up and slowly trudges his way through the mounds of trash. Even the best of the best said it. His tears refused to stop flowing. Don't cry. You knew already, right? This is reality. It's because I knew that I tried so damned hard. Izuku eventually makes it through the junk and arrives at the ocean. Looking out towards the sunset, his mind begins to wander. Everyone was right. He turns his head towards a nearby trash pile. I'm like this beach, nothing but useless junk and a waste of space. He rubs his nose in an attempt to stop the tears. If only I had a quirk. He starts walking towards the nearest trash heap, which also happens to be the one closest to the ocean. If I had a quirk, then maybe I wouldn't be so useless. He peers down at the lowest part of the junk pile, which sits within the shallow water. His fist balls up as he stares down at the scraps of metal. Maybe people would care about my dreams if I had a quirk. He scowls and his fists tighten. Maybe Dad would still be around if I had a quirk. Izuku screams at the top of his lungs. Why can't I have a quirk? He kicks the trash as hard as he could, putting all of his anger into it. Unfortunately, it did not have the desired effect. Ah! Izuku grabs his, possibly broken, foot and falls backward. He screams in pain as he rolls across the beach in agony. That was not the best idea. Izuku leans forward. What the heck did I kick? He wobbles and brushes away the surrounding trash, revealing a spherical metal orb underneath. What is this? The strange sphere shifts slightly and steam spews out from the metal gears and shafts. Izuku flinches in response. The orb opens and a bright green light emanates from within. Izuku cautiously peers inside and is very surprised by what he finds. Izuku is rightfully confused, for sitting inside the sphere is a strange wristwatch-like object. The watch is rather large in size. It's primarily black and gray in color with white trims. A black faceplate is centered in the middle, which has a green hourglass shape within it. The green hourglass is what's illuminating the eerie green light. Izuku grabs a metal pipe in his right hand and uses it to poke the watch. Could it be radioactive? He brings the tip of the pipe back towards him and probes the tip that touched the strange device. It's not hot, so it must be safe, right? The green light seems to illuminate brighter, as if tempting Izuku. Curiously, the green-haired boy uses his left hand to grab the watch. The moment Izuku's hand enters the sphere, the watch seemingly springs to life and wraps itself around his left wrist. Ah! Izuku flails his arm about trying to fling the device away. He bangs the pipe against it. There isn't even a scratch. The glossy surface of the watch gleams as if to tease its new host. Izuku throws the pipe away and tries to wrangle the watch off of himself. Come on. There's got to be some kind of button or switch to get this thing off. The teen presses down on 2 points on the black faceplate, causing a dial to spring up out of the watch. Izuku gazes down at the dial, and that's when he notices that the hourglass symbol from before has changed to that of a diamond. Inside the green diamond is a strange black silhouette that appears to have 4 arms. Izuku cautiously grips the dial, accidentally turning it, causing a new silhouette to appear. The new figure has its head floating above its body with horns curving up from its shoulders. He turns the dial once more, and this time it becomes a tall silhouette that has tendrils on its head and a tail. He's not sure what it is. Maybe it was fate or simple curiosity. Maybe even stupidity. But the unsuspecting teen places a single finger on top of the dial and pushes down. The dial clicks in place, and a blinding flash of green light envelops Izuku's entire body. Izuku goes blind. All he sees is the flash of bright green light, and although it lasted less than a second, a strange convulsion surges throughout his entire being, down all the way to every single one of his cells. He can feel his arms and legs stretching as if being pulled. His skull is shifting like someone is remolding it, and an electrical feeling circulates through his insides. In less than a second, the odd sensations stop. Izuku grabs his head as a headache begins to form. What just happened? Izuku asks himself, noticing the staticky sound of his voice. What's wrong with my voice? He checks his wrist, looking for the watch, but finds a slim black hand with gold-colored plugs at the end of his fingertips. My hand. He looks down at the rest of his body and takes note of his black skin and tall stature. Where are my clothes? He tries to cover himself up, but the weirdness of the whole situation gets to him. What the heck is going on? Izuku is so freaked out that he begins running in circles, crashing and bumping into abandoned appliances and trash as he goes. He eventually arrives somewhere in the center of the unofficial garbage dump. There he tries to figure out his bearings and glances over at a trashed car. The frightened teen screams at the face looking back at him. After a moment of screams, he grabs his face and realizes that he's looking at his own reflection. What happened to me? He takes a good hard look at himself. Somehow, he has transformed into a single green-eyed being with black skin. He notices the change in height as well as the 2 tendrils on his head, and that he has a tail now. He takes note of the gold plug-like appendages on his tendrils, tail, and fingers. What the heck am I? What did that thing do to me? Izuku tries to clear his mind by shaking his head. The tendrils whoosh behind him. Okay, calm down, Izuku. Just analyze the situation. I went to the beach, kicked trash, and then found the watch. The transfigured Izuku pats himself until he finds the faceplate of the watch embedded in his chest. He grabs the device and starts yanking it as hard as he can. Get off! Izuku is thrashing about so much that he trips over his own tail and crashes into a nearby trash heap. Ouch. Well, that didn't work. He rubs his head as he sits up. Oh, how am I going to explain this to everyone? Izuku kicks his legs in the air and falls back. Forget that. How am I going to explain this to Mom? Taking a breath, he calms himself down. I guess it could be worse, Looking over, Izuku notices that one of his tendrils is waving its plug, as if it's attracted to something in particular. Curiously, Izuku follows the seemingly conscious tendril, which leads him towards the hood of the trashed car from before. The black tendril shakes above the hood. Curious to see where this goes, Izuku pops the hood of the car, allowing the tendril to latch itself to the car's battery. Almost immediately, electricity surges through the golden plug up the tendril and into Izuku's body. The teen can feel the electricity charging up within him. The current is stopped when the battery completely runs out of juice. Izuku can feel the electricity coursing through him. Raising his hand, sparks fly out from his fingertips. How is this possible? Izuku begins to mumble up a storm. He throws around theories from having been mutated by a radioactive watch to some sort of weird nightmare, and so on. Eventually, one consideration sticks in his mind. Do I have a quirk? A grin spreads across his face. Did that watch give me a quirk? An honest-to-goodness quirk. The sparks in his hands increase. Izuku's grin widens as he extends his hands, and a stream of electricity shoots out, frying a junked refrigerator. I can't believe it. This body, this power. I wonder what else it can do. The antennas on his head curve upward, as if reacting to something. Izuku hears static, but a clear message comes through that almost sounds like it's coming from a radio. Requesting backup. A villain is attacking the shopping district at Tatooine Station. Izuku holds the side of his head, as if adjusting an earpiece. Wait, what's happening? I must be picking up a radio signal. The radio signal continues. Requesting backup for all available heroes. You are needed at the Tatooine Station shopping district. A villain has captured a child. The villain's body is made of fluid that prevents on-the-scene heroes from detaining him, and the victim's quirk is setting off explosions, causing a great amount of damage and fires. A fluid body. A person that can make explosions. No, it can't be. The hostage has been identified as Katsuki Bakugo. Kaken. Izuku begins running towards the street. Tatooine Station is close. If I book it, maybe I can. Whoa. Izuku accidentally leaps into the air. Wow, I can really jump. Izuku lands on the concrete street and immediately begins running. He can't help but take note of his agility. I'm fast too. At this rate, I can make it there in less than a minute or two. If Izuku had continued to listen to the radio broadcast, he possibly could have picked up the latest transmission. This is 13, I'm on my way. Somewhere else in Musatafu, the skeletal All Might had backtracked towards the bridge. But he didn't find anything, so he made his way towards the station to report a missing villain. However, before he can get there, he spots smoke rising in the near distance, along with the resonating sounds of explosions and sirens. He starts to make a dash towards it. Please, don't let it be what I think it is. Henzu Uichi laughs from his perch atop a nearby building. Below him, the heroes are struggling against the sludge villain, and Bakugo's explosions are definitely not helping. This is so great. Look at all these morons tripping over themselves. Behind the black-haired teen is a humanoid rat with black quills on his head. Yeah, a real show. He sounds rather uninterested and would rather get somewhere that's far away from the heroes. The rat pulls up the collar of his orange jacket. So, hey, I helped you track the brat down. Now you got to hold up your end of the deal. He jabs an accusing finger at Henzu. Without looking, Henzu casually slips the rat man a large roll of cash. Come on, you know I'm good for it, Arjit. Arjit smiles and begins his descent down the fire escape. It's always a pleasure doing business with you. The rat leaves while Henzu continues to watch. Henzu's malicious smile widens as Bakugo's explosion causes so much damage that a barrier of fire and smoke prevents the heroes and witnesses from even seeing the futile struggle below. Goodbye, Blasty. This world will be better off without ya. The twisted teen breaks into another fit of haunting laughter. While Henzu takes time to appreciate Bakugo's flailing about, Arjit makes his way down to the ally below. Luckily for him, there are no people there to see him. They are all too busy watching the situation. Arjit tucks the cash into his jacket when something tall and fast rushes past him. Huh? The rodent looks over and sees a tall black figure staring wide-eyed at the sludge villain. The rodent mutters to himself, cupping his chin. What's a Kentuctoid doing here? All Might finally arrives on the scene. Unfortunately, he can't see a thing amongst all the smoke and flames blocking his view. Around him, heroes are trying to keep the civilians calm while they also deal with the fires. He overhears a few civilians talking about a sludge-based villain and how it captured a child. One civilian even points out that All Might himself was chasing after the villain earlier. All Might's gaze falls downward as he grabs his injury. Pathetic. His hand tightens around his wound. Pathetic. How can I call myself a hero? Especially after what I told that boy. All Might can hear the sounds of explosions dying off. I'm sorry. Hopefully a hero with the right quirk will arrive soon. All Might gazes up towards the flames, and for a split second amongst the smoke and fire he notices a strange symbol moving beyond the inferno, an illuminating green hourglass within a black circle. Neither Bakugo nor the villain notice as a tall black-skinned being peers out of the ally and stares at the scene in front of him. It really is Kaken, and that same villain from before covering his mouth. Tears begin to form in his single green eye. It's the same one, so that means it's my fault. I distracted All Might and prevented him from doing his job. His mind flashes back to All Might's injury. And All Might's weak. He can't do anything. It's my fault. Bakugo's explosions stop. This guy can't be caught. We have to wait for someone with the right quirk to show up. Bakugo has his eyes shut as he tries to pull himself away from his attacker. Hang in there, Kaken. I'm so sorry. Bakugo's struggling decreases dramatically. A hero's bound to come. Bakugo is clearly losing his breath. I'm so sorry. Someone will come to save you soon. In a moment of pure desperation, Bakugo's eyes shoot open, begging for mercy. Begging for a hero to save his life. And in that moment, Izuku's mind went blank as pure instinct took over. He charges head first towards Bakugo. What am I doing? Why am I running? The living pile of sludge notices the stranger charging at him. He gurgles out a roar. Get away from me. The villain takes a swipe to fend off the intruder. Despite the oncoming attack, Izuku keeps charging. Eep. What do I do? What do I do? At a time like this, Izuku's mind flashes to page 25 of his hero notebook and gets an idea. Izuku's tendrils wrap around a garbage can and flings towards the villain's face. Hiya! Garbage flies out from the can and jabs the attacker's eyes. The villain screams in pain as Izuku grabs Bakugo, and with one swift motion, he pulls the blonde free from the sludge's grasp. Kaken! Bakugo coughs, breathing heavily, as he's pulled free. Who the fuck are you? He asks between gasps. As Izuku pulls Bakugo away from his capturer, he tries to explain himself. Kaken, it's oof. Izuku's whipped so hard that he tumbles down. Bakugo falls with him. The villain sends out several tentacles towards the two. You're in my way. Acting fast, Izuku grabs Bakugo and tosses him towards a nearby alleyway that's clear of people and fire. Quick, get away from here. A large tentacle knocks the morphed Izuku into a burning food stand. Ah! Bakugo rolls on the ground a few feet, and when he looks up, he sees his black-skinned rescuer getting knocked around by sludge attacks. The blonde hesitates for a moment, but shakes it off. Despite nearly dying, he moves as fast as he can away from the scene. From further down the alley, the Hero 13 appears. The hero notices the wobbling Bakugo and grabs his shoulders to help steady him. Hey, it's okay now, I got you. Bakugo's eyes snap up in temporary fear, but he visibly relaxes when he recognizes the hero. Yeah, well, who's got that other guy? What other guy? Bakugo gestures behind him and 13 takes a look. Their eyes widen as the rescue hero witnesses an alien-like being doing its best to avoid being whipped. Honestly, it's not doing a very good job of dodging. A Kentuctoid? What are they doing here? Why would it take such a risk? Before the rescue hero can get their answers, they're hailed over their radio. 13, are you engaged with the enemy? 13 tries to come up with a reply. Please keep the area clear. The villain is resisting. 13 leads the injured blonde away from the battle. I'll have to deal with the Kentuctoid afterwards. The sludge villain roars as he continues his onslaught against the wannabe hero. Stop getting in my way. Izuku's body has really taken a beating. He's covered in dirt and grime, and although it's hard to tell, he's pretty sure that he's covered in bruises. Izuku uses his slim, yet strong arms to block the attacks. It's not much, but it's something, especially considering how battered he is. Why did my legs move on their own? Why did I jump in to help? I don't know. Izuku endures the quick and powerful blows. No, I know why. It's because he looked like... He can't help but remember the look in his childhood friend's eyes. He needed saving. The villain's sludge begins to swirl around, making a spiral-like motion above the villain's head. The slime screeches as he sends out a powerful attack of spinning sludge. Die, hero. Izuku's tendrils and tail stretch out and latch themselves onto a nearby power box. Electricity immediately begins to course through him. I won't let you hurt anyone else. Izuku balls his hands together, allowing the electricity to charge up. It's time to be a hero. He aims his hands out towards his attacker, and a thundering beam of lightning rushes forward. The villain's attack is blown away as the lightning thunders straight for him. Ah! The villain screams in pain as watts of electricity begins to surge through him. All around him, metal and other electronics are getting similar treatment. The blast is too much. The villain's body rips apart, sending bits and pieces of sludge flying all across the burning street. Izuku cuts off the flow of electricity as slime and embers fall around him. I did it. I really did it. Izuku wobbles backwards towards the alley he originally entered from. I did it, and with a quirk no less. Just as the unlicensed hero stumbles back into the alley, the dial on his chest begins to beep and flash red. But it goes unnoticed by the teen, even as a red flash of light envelopes his entire body. Izuku falls onto his knees just as he turns back to normal. He gazes at the red illuminated watch on his battered yet human wrist. Finally, exhaustion from the day's events catches up to the teen. He's so exhausted that he falls face forward onto the pavement. And with that, he begins to fade out of consciousness. The last thing he sees other than the red glowing watch is a pair of yellow shoes approaching him. I can be a hero. An hour has passed since the sludge villain attack. The sun has begun to set. Yet heroes are still occupying the scene as to help clean up and ease the people's nerves. Their presence, however, does not help Henzu Uichi's mood. Well, this sucks. The black-haired teen is leaned up against a wall from across the street watching, as the heroes such as Mount Lady and Death Arms are interviewed, and the police take statements. Man, why did that hero have to ruin my fun? Sheesh. Henzu is, of course, referring to the guy with the one green eye and tendrils on his head. Well, no use sticking around. He kicks himself off the wall. From the corner of his eye, he spots the bandaged Bakugo receiving compliments from pro-heroes that witnessed his quirk-esque power in action. Looks like you get to stick around for a little longer. Blasty. Henzu absorbs the iron from his wrench and proceeds to punch the cement wall, breaking a small crater into it. He stuffs his hands into his pockets and strolls off. One day, you will get what's coming to you. Eventually, the heroes are done praising Bakugo, and the police have already gotten a statement from him, leaving him to his thoughts. Throughout the entire time, he gave the police and the heroes very little information about what happened at most. He said that he was caught by the pile of crap, and then a hero saved him. Bakugo did, however, say that it was 13 who saved him and who fought the villain, Like 13 asked him to. Honestly, Bakugo could care less about which hero took the credit. But what does have him interested is what the weirdo called him. That tall black-skinned freak called him Kaken. The only one who calls me that is Deku. That couldn't have been Deku. Ha, yeah, right. The guy probably had some kind of telepathic aspect to his quirk or something. Maybe the bastard already knew who I was and decided to try and get chummy. Yeah, that's probably it. Bakugo trods off towards home, laughing at the idea of Izuku ever having a quirk. As he leaves, he unknowingly passes by the number one hero in all of Japan. Pathetic. This is all my fault. The skeletal All Might stands alone. His dark thoughts are all that give him company as he watches pro heroes, active heroes, heroes that are capable, doing their duty. Apparently, 13 was able to make it inside and handle the situation. But he grabs his injury as if it personally offends him. I wasn't able to do anything. I was useless. All I was good for was watching from the sidelines and hope that someone else would save the day. All Might shakes his head in denial. No, stop that. This was bound to happen eventually, that's why. I need to continue my search for a worthy successor. One that can take my place and become a new symbol of peace. Ugh. Everything aches as Izuku opens his eyes to a bright, blinding light. With his head spinning, he can eventually make out a white, clean ceiling. Huh? Where am I? Sitting up, his head swinging from side to side. He realizes that he's in a hospital. How'd I get here? What happened? His memory of transforming and saving Bakugo returned to him. Oh yeah, I jumped in and saved Kaken. That was so scary. Maybe it was a dream. That's when he notices that the watch is still attached to his wrist. Its green light blinks as if to say hello. It was real. What was I thinking? That was so stupid. I bet I'm going to be arrested for vigilantism. Maybe they think I'm a villain. Oh my god. How am I going to explain myself? Wow, you're sure a lively one. Izuku shakily turns to the door, his eyes full of dread. However, the gleam in his eyes turns to that of surprise, and despite the looming fear, he can't help but smile. His eyes sparkle as his terrified and nervous expression turns to one of excitement and joy. You're the Space Hero 13, indeed. The rescue hero himself is standing at the entrance of the hospital room. I'm a huge fan. You're so amazing. A top-notch rescue hero with the ability to create black holes that can be used to clear any debris. 13 cuts him off. Haha, yes, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. I am more concerned about you. 13 takes a seat in the chair closest the bed. How are you feeling? Oh, I feel pretty good, all things considered. Just a little banged up here and there. That's good. Their voice becomes deadly serious. Now I have some questions for you. The greenette's mouth snaps shut as 13 stares him in the eyes and leans forward. What are you doing here on Earth? Huh? Come on, don't play dumb. Where did you get level 20 technology? 13's voice rises with annoyance. How did you avoid registration? Why did you interfere today? Where are you from? Who sent you? Who gave you that device? Sorry, but I don't understand. 13 sighs, leaning back on their seat. All right, let's start from the top. 13 opens the folder that they were carrying under their arm. According to these files, your name's Izuku Midoriya, age 14, attends Aldera Junior High, and you're registered as quirkless. 13 eyes Izuku suspiciously before continuing. I ran a test of your DNA while you were unconscious, and it came up as purely human. They closed the folder. So, tell me, how were you able to become a conductoid and then revert back to human? Izuku blinks. I still don't understand what you're saying. The space-suited hero sighs heavily. How were you able to transform into the black-skinned being that can absorb and release electricity? Oh, I'm not completely sure myself. Well, just explain the best you can. Well, I was at Dagobah Beach and I found a strange metal sphere. Izuku hesitates. If he continues, there's a good chance that the hero will think he's either crazy or a liar, maybe both. 13, meanwhile, encouragingly gestures for him to continue. Izuku continues, deciding to stick with the truth. Maybe his story won't seem as crazy as he thinks. And I found this strange watch. Izuku raises his left arm to indicate the item in question. It just leapt onto my wrist, and when I tried to remove it, it turned me into that thing. 13 cups their helmet, as if holding their chin. Interesting. So, why did you engage with the slime villain? Oh, well, my legs. They just sort of moved on their own. I saw Kaken's face, and I just thought that he needed saving. 13 takes a moment to think before standing up. I think I understand now. That makes one of them. Izuku still isn't sure about everything that's happened. What did 13 mean by their questions? They were so bizarre. They almost suggested that he committed a horrible offense. Izuku is pulled out of his musing by 13. I think I owe you some answers. 13 points at the newly revealed watch. While you were unconscious, I ran some tests on that watch. That thing on your wrist appears to be level 20, or extremely advanced technology that has the capability to overwrite and reprogram the wearer's DNA to that of other beings. Transformed DNA. Yes, it's a device like none other on this planet, or any other planet for that matter. This device can break up your human DNA and relater it to that of other living life forms. What are you saying? Midoriya, do you believe in aliens? Izuku stares dumbfounded at the pro-hero. Excuse me. 13, rather than play this gentle, decides to drop the truth. Aliens exist. Izuku's stupefied expression somehow increases. You know, extraterrestrials, intelligent life, aliens. Well, they are very real. In fact, it's my job to watch over and monitor aliens that come to Earth. Even make sure that they follow intergalactic laws and such. For you see, I am a plumber. Izuku gives the hero a quizzical look. A plumber? Not that kind of plumber. The plumbers are an interstellar disciplinary force that uphold justice across the known galaxies. Basically, heroes but in space. Oh, Izuku's eyes comedically widen in realization. Wait. You're being completely serious here. 13 deadpans. Yes. But that doesn't make sense. Aliens don't exist. I mean, of course there is a possibility. But wouldn't we have some kind of evidence by now? Not to mention, this puts science, and even our own history, into question. There's also the chance that the world's governments are aware of this. 13 can only stare as the teen begins to ramble on into a storm of muttering that lasts for a good length of time. Izuku eventually realizes what he's doing and silences himself. But only after a few minutes have already passed by. When he's done, 13 decides to continue. Anyway, as I was saying, as a plumber, it's my job to make sure that any and all aliens on Earth behave themselves. Usually that isn't an issue. That also includes tracking any and all alien technology, products, and goods. So, I've definitely seen a thing or two. 13 rubs the back of their head. Admittedly, I've never encountered or even heard of anything like this. They gesture towards the watch. A device that can transform people into aliens. The two sit in silence. 13 lets Izuku's mind process everything, while Izuku honestly has no idea what to think of all of this. Izuku fidgets from his uncomfortable seat. So what now? His green eyes meet 13's. Well, this piece of level 20 tech, the look on Izuku's face tells them that he's confused. This piece of technology is so advanced that it would take millions of years for regular humans to make it. For comparison, the Earth has only level 3, arguably level 4, technology. 13 reaches into his back pocket. Ah, Izuku nods his head in understanding. 13 pulls out a small light gray disc that's shaped like a circular hourglass with a bright red dot in the middle. Izuku watches in fascination as 13 touches the red dot. The dot lights up and projects a hologram of a screen where 13 proceeds to type in a few things. What's that? My plumber's badge. I have no knowledge on things like this, so I would like to file a report and see if other officers know of anything like this. Ah, yup. Hopefully we can get this thing off of you. Izuku's inside fill with nervousness. Do you really have to take it? He subconsciously grabs the watch. It's just that this watch, gave me the opportunity to do something. 13 only watches as Izuku continues. It gave me the chance to be useful, to help someone else, to be a hero. So, can't I just keep it? A few tears escape Izuku's eyes as he begs for this. 13's heart goes out to the boy, but they have a job and a responsibility to uphold. I'm sorry, but no. It goes against protocol for humans to possess level 20 tech. Heck, I don't even know what this thing is fully capable of. I can't just let you keep it. 13 looks away from Izuku's dejected appearance. I'm sorry, but that's just how it's going to be. 13 scratches the side of their face helmet. However, according to the test results, the watch has fused with your own genetic structure. What? What does that mean? It means that it's bound not just to your wrist, but your DNA. Izuku's head snaps up in worry. Although I said that you can't keep it, it's not like I can keep you here as well, and trying to lock it in portable case will look too suspicious. A flicker of hope lights up within the teen's heart. Does that mean? Yeah, you can hold on to it for now. It's unclear, but Izuku is pretty sure that 13 is smiling from under their helmet. It should be fine, as long as you don't draw attention to it or yourself. Tears of joy slide down the boy's cheeks as his hold tightens around the watch. Thank you. Don't get too excited. I'm still not sure about what it can do. Also try to avoid using it. The last thing we need is for some lunatic to go after it. Yeah, Izuku chuckles lightly. I wouldn't want that. Definitely. Now, I'm sure you have more questions, but it's gotten pretty late. Let's get you home, all right? We can discuss more later. Yeah, wait. How am I going to explain everything to my mom? 13 smiles and gives the teen a thumbs up. Don't worry, I got it covered. Izuku, honey, are you all right? Izuku is enveloped in a bone-crushing, yet very loving, embrace. I'm fine, Mom. He returns the hug. I was really well cared for. Inko Midoriya examines, making sure there's nothing other than the few bandages dispersed across his body. Oh, thank goodness. You must be starving. I kept dinner warm for you. Izuku smiles brightly. Thanks, Mom. There's a hint of regret in his aura. She really doesn't suspect a thing. As 13 had explained, they really did have this covered. Hash 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 flashback. Hash 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 hash. After 13 had questioned Izuku, the hero not only generously paid for Izuku's medical bill, but drove the teen from the hospital and back to his apartment complex. Before Izuku can head towards the elevator, 13 stopped him. Just to make sure, what's the cover story? After school I was hanging around the shopping district when the villain attacked, and I was knocked unconscious. Then you rescued me, took me to the hospital to be checked over, and even paid for my medical bill. Correct? Which works well since I already had my agency call your mother ahead of time when I apprehended you. Yeah. As for the watch, just say that you bought it, okay? K. 13 holds a card out to Izuku. Here, take this. It's my contact information. I'll be in touch. I gotta make sure you're not abusing this thing, and I'll give you any information that comes in about it. Oh, and keep all this alien in space talk down to the bare minimum, alright? Last thing we need is a global panic. Hash 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 and flashback. Hash 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 hash. After dinner, and bidding his mother a good night, Izuku heads straight to his room. He dumps his uniform into the laundry and changes into some fresh clothes. I don't really like lying to mom, but what can I do? Izuku falls back onto his All Might themed bed. Today has been one giant roller coaster of emotions. He raises up his fist, gazing up at the alien transforming watch. A hopeful glint shines in his eyes. I know I'm not allowed to use this thing, but maybe, just maybe, I can use it to become a hero. A hero that saves everyone with a smile. Wait, 13 said that the plumbers, that's such a horrible name, are like space heroes. Maybe I can join them, and if I do, I can use the watch. Izuku sits up, raising his fists in determination. Next chance I get, I'll talk to 13 about it. But in the meantime, he stands up, walks over to his desk and grabs a notebook. It's similar to his hero analysis one, except this one has clearly never been used. Once he grabs a pen, he heads for the kitchen. Hey mom. Inko is busy washing dishes. Yes? I'm going to walk around the block for a little bit. I need some air. Is that okay? Inko would really like to say no, but she has no real reason to. Well, as long as you're nearby, then I guess it's okay. Thanks, Mom. And don't worry, I won't be gone for more than 10-20 minutes or so. Take care, sweetie. Izuku hugs his mother, slips on his shoes, and heads for the alleyway behind his building. The alleyway is dark with only a few street lights illuminating it. Izuku, innocently, places his new notebook on top of a shiny American muscle car that's magenta in color. The car belongs to an elderly neighbor of his. I know 13 said not to use it. He grips the watch almost affectionately. But if I want to convince 13 in letting me keep it, then I have to learn as much about this watch as possible. Izuku writes a new title onto the cover of the notebook. Hero Transformations #1. Izuku grips the watch, making sure the coast is clear. He activates the watch. The dial shoots up. The diamond symbol forming in the middle reveals the same tendril silhouette from before. Izuku rotates the dial and takes count of all the different silhouettes. He counts a total of 9 forms before returning to the first form he transformed into. With little hesitation and a lot of excitement, Izuku slams the dial down. A flash of green light envelopes the greenette, and the teen can feel his body changing all the way down to the microscopic level. Aw, yeah. The conductoid cheers, grinning happily at his form. The morphed Izuku turns to the muscle car as a mirror uses it to examine his new body. You know, now that I'm aware this is an alien body, I don't feel so embarrassed that I'm not wearing clothes. Oh, who am I kidding? It's still weird. Izuku tries to cover himself, but he knows that there's no point anymore. Well, anyway. Izuku takes a few moments to draw out the general shape and look of this transformation. When he's satisfied with his drawing, he puts down the pen. Now for this form's powers. The 2 tendrils on his head stretch up and attach themselves onto the street lamp that hangs above his head. The tendrils absorb the electricity, causing the lamp to flicker. Izuku removes the tendrils and aims a finger out towards a garbage can. A small beam of electricity flies out and knocks the can away. So cool. Izuku, as the conductoid, takes time to write down what he does know about this alien into his new journal. Agility, can hear radio waves, feeds on electricity, has tendrils on the back of his head, staticky voice, etc. Okay, I should probably give this form a name, like what some pro heroes with transformation type quirks do. He presses his pencil against his lips. What did 13 call this thing, by the way? I think they said conductoid. That must be this guy's species or something. Izuku jots the species name down before taking a moment to look over what he has written. The words feed and back stick out to him. Feedback, oh, I like that. Feedback. It fits, and it sort of plays off this guy's staticky voice. He picks up the notebook and writes in big bold letters, feedback. Feedback is so excited that his tail and tendrils reach towards the nearest electrical items they can find. Lamp, electrical lines, etc. Having charged up on electricity, Feedback begins firing small blasts from individual fingers at various items, namely garbage. He gets a little too carried away though. The teen swings his hand to the side and accidentally releases a ray of lightning that's 10 times more powerful than what he's been releasing. The sound of metal being fried and the smell of burning rubber and leather fills the alien's nostrils. Assuming he has those. Feedback gasps as his green's eye widens in shock. The once shining American muscle car that Izuku was using as a table is now charred with melting tires and burned leather seats. Somehow the alarm is still able to work and is blaring. The conductoid is shaking as he looks upon the result of his carelessness. By some fortunate coincidence, his notebook had been flung off the car, allowing it to evade being fried to a crisp. No, not Mr. Bauman's car. Now for some context. Mr. Bauman is an elderly gentleman that moved to Japan from America many years ago. He's Izuku's neighbor, and he apparently runs some kind of foreign grocery store somewhere in the warehouse district. Unfortunately, Mr. Bauman doesn't exactly enjoy Izuku's company. In fact, he doesn't like Izuku, period. But unlike Bakugo, his reasons are a bit more justified. For you see, Izuku has accidentally caused Mr. Bauman great misfortune, usually involving the man's car, which was the only thing the shop owner brought with him from America. For example, when Izuku was 5, he spotted Mr. Bauman waxing his car. Like a playful child, Izuku tried to inspect the car using a magnifying glass, and he just so happened to notice that the gentleman had missed a spot on the hood of his car. Unfortunately, the son had direct access to the magnifying glass, and because Izuku had the magnifying glass over the waxed hood for too long, the car actually caught on fire. Izuku ran away as Mr. Bauman shouted and cursed at him. There were several other similar instances like this as the years went by. Not wanting to be scolded or seen in his altered form, Izuku quickly retreats down the alley, hoping to avoid his angry neighbor. Feedback rounds the corner, and a few seconds later Mr. Bauman himself makes his way down the alley, having heard his car alarm from his apartment. Ignatius Bauman is a short, pot-bellied man with a little black mustache over his lip. He's always wearing his magenta apron and bow tie over a light pink, striped yellow dress shirt with brown pants. Mr. Bauman rushes over to his crisp car. Steam practically explodes from his head. Ooh, this has got Izuku written all over it. The grouchy neighbor grumbles various ways to make the teen take responsibility for this. He becomes silent as the bumper of his car unceremoniously collapses to the ground. The following morning. I'm late. Izuku scrambles out of his home and down the street with a piece of toast dangling from his mouth as he tries to adjust his school blazer. I can't believe I slept in. Izuku was kept up late last night. After running off, it took about 4 more minutes for the watch to begin beeping and flashing red, reverting feedback back into Izuku. Izuku also noted that he was feedback for about 10 minutes. He also took note that the watch was red instead of green for another 10 minutes after. But that isn't what kept the teen up. After Izuku returned home and showered, Mr. Bauman stopped by and, despite little to no proof, gave Izuku an earful for nearly an hour. Followed by another 5 or so minutes of Izuku apologizing and explaining that he accidentally kicked a loose electrical wire at the car. Considering he set the car on fire with a magnifying glass once, Mr. Bauman believed him. Izuku continues his exhausting sprint, having just finished his toast. There's no way I'll make it in time. Izuku stops dead in his tracks, skidding across the ground. He jumps into a nearby alleyway and begins fiddling with the watch. I know. Maybe feedback can get me to school on time. He believes that he found feedback's silhouette, but before he presses down the dial he hesitates. But 13 said try not using this thing too much. But they didn't say that I couldn't use it at all, and this is an emergency. I mean, 13 is a teacher at UA, so they should understand the importance of making it to class on time. With that reasoning to comfort him, Izuku slams the dial down. Green energy surrounds him, and Izuku feels his body changing. Except it's different this time. He feels himself becoming skinnier, rather than bigger or taller. His feet reshape, and his fingers join together. A stretching feeling originates near his tailbone. What da? This isn't feedback. Indeed, it seems that the watch turned the teen into the wrong alien. His current form resembles a semi-armored velociraptor. It has black orbs on its feet and wears a black conoid helmet. The raptor-like alien has a blue face, green eyes, and black lips. The alien's skin is blue with black stripes along its long tail. Its arms are thin with 3 sharp black talon-like fingers. It wears the Omnitrix symbol on its chest. Interesting, I wonder what it is. The morphed Izuku tries to move forward, and in a blink of an eye Izuku finds himself across the street. Whoa! A black visor now covers his face to protect it from wind and debris. This guy is fast. From under the visor, the reptilian alien smiles gleefully. Like a speeding bullet, Izuku takes off, leaving only a blue streak behind him. Man, this guy has such amazing speed. Just look at how he accelerates. Oh, that's a good name. Excel no XLR8. Yeah, that's it. To avoid drawing attention to other people and the authorities, XLR8 uses various backways and unpopulated streets that he learned from Henzu and his own endeavors in order to avoid Bakugo. XLR8 makes it to school in a mere 3 minutes. In fact, he makes it there so quickly he has about 20 minutes to spare. So, to make use of that time, Izuku scribbles down a drawing, characteristics, and the speed of the new alien into his new notebook. Notably, XLR8's speed doesn't just involve his speed, but his basic motor functions as well. In this case, he finishes his notes in less than 5 seconds. Izuku spends a few seconds thinking about what to do until the timer runs out. In 1 second, he types and sends Henzu a text asking how he's doing. XLR8 taps his foot rapidly, waiting for a reply, which comes a few minutes later. Henzu is ditching school today. Usually Izuku would have a small panic attack, but this is pretty normal for his best friend. Man, I really wanted to show the watch off to Henzu. XLR8's mind reels back to the last thing he showed Henzu. It was a limited edition All Might figurine, and for some reason he lent it to the delinquent only for Henzu to go behind his back and return with a huge wad of cash with him, although he did split some of the cash with him. You know what, maybe I shouldn't mention it. I'll have a real hard time explaining myself. After replying back, a few students pass XLR8. When Izuku notices them, he flinches, expecting to be ridiculed, but his classmates simply walk right by him without so much as a glance. Huh? Izuku looks at his sharp claws. They must think I'm someone with a mutation quirk. You were so cool. Yeah man, just like a hero. Your quirk's so powerful. XLR8 spins around and sees an annoyed Bakugo surrounded by some of their classmates. They seem to be praising him for surviving the sludge villain attack yesterday. XLR8 cautiously watches on as the group walks closer. He thinks about hiding, but figures that he won't be recognized. Bakugo stomps forward, doing his best to ignore the annoying fucks. Stupid extras. Bakugo thinks back to yesterday's events, specifically to the strange person that saved him from the slime. TCH, that bastard. How dare he think of me as some helpless, useless punk. I could have killed that guy if I wanted to. His grip around his backpack strap tightens in frustration, as if he doesn't believe that himself. As the group of noisy kids pass by the blue-scaled alien, Bakugo's eyes divert down towards the symbol on the lizard's chest. Bakugo, recognizing it as the same symbol that the other hero had, so he stops and turns towards what he thinks is a person with a mutation-type quirk. Hey, lizard tail. The students surrounding Bakugo shut up and freeze in place, afraid of interrupting their item of worship. XLR8 freezes up in fear, which is the only thing preventing him from running away. Why yes. Bakugo points at the watch's faceplate. What's with that fucking badge? And do you know a strange one-eyed tentacle bastard with black skin? If so, He raises his palm as if to threaten the reptile with an explosion. Then tell me about him. Izuku is shaking in fear, but with a shake of his head, he registers the questions. Badge? Tentacle freak? He looks down where the dial shines on his chest. Oh, the dial begins to beep and flash red. Sorry, but I have somewhere to be. XLR-8 gives a friendly yet nervous smile before taking off as fast as he possibly can, which is of course extremely fast. Bakugo blinks, and then glares angrily towards where Lizard Tail ran off to. What the fuck? Meanwhile, XLR-8 makes it to the other side of the school grounds before he reverts back into his human form. Phew, that was close. Izuku wipes the sweat off his head. I have got to be more careful. Gripping his backpack, he noticed that his backpack transformed and reverted back with him. The greenette heads to class. Kaken recognized the watch. He pulls his sleeve up to hide the said object. I better be careful. I don't need another reason for Kaken to come after me. The school day goes uneventfully, especially since Bakugo seems content to keep his anger to himself today. Izuku ignores everything. His mind is only focused on 13, the plumbers, and what other aliens he has access to. He even tries to theorize if certain events in human history were caused by extraterrestrial influences. Building of the pyramids, UFO sightings, Area 51, even Atlantis. As the end of the school day approaches, Izuku can't help but write a few of his thoughts into his journal, allowing the classroom to empty out. He also took time to text 13 about the next time they can talk. As Izuku packs up, he gets a text from 13 asking him if he would like to stop by their agency. They figure that Izuku has many follow-up questions to ask. Izuku grabs his Hero Transformations notebook and heads for the exit, as he eagerly replies with yes and promises to meet the hero in an hour. Hey, Deku. Izuku turns stark white and shakily turns towards his old childhood friend. Why, yes, Kakakin. Bakugo eyes Izuku's wrist. What's with the stupid-looking watch? The greenette slowly averts his eyes towards his wrist where the watch, with its green hourglass symbol, is in full display. He had forgotten about covering it up with his sleeve. Bakugo growls. That's the third time I've seen that thing. He raises his palm in a threatening manner. Tiny explosions pop from it. What is it, and why do you have it? Oh, I bought it. Yeah, I got it yesterday at a little gift shop. Bakugo scowls. You better not be lying to me, you little shit. I'm not, I swear. Good. Bakugo turns away so he can fetch his backpack from his desk. Seeing that he's free to go, Izuku waddles towards the exit, clutching his new notebook for comfort as he goes. Bakugo glances back and spots the nun-burnt notebook and notices the word hero on it. Hold it, nerd. Izuku freezes in place. A tear leaks from his eye. Bakugo jabs an accusing finger at the notebook. What's with that? Izuku follows the angry blonde's finger, but his brain is too nerve-wracked to reply. And in that brief moment, Izuku's instincts went into fight or flight mode. Izuku seemingly flies down the hallway, leaving behind a trail of terrified tears. Get back here, shitty Deku. Izuku can hear the sounds of small explosions coming after him. What do I do? What do I do? Oh, duh, of course. He won't recognize me if I go alien. I need a better way to refer to transforming. Rounding a corner, the teen activates the dial and disappears behind a flash of green light. Izuku can feel his head widening, his eyes bulging, but for some reason his entire body shrinking at the exact same time. All this occurs just as Bakugo catches up with him. The sound of detonations eventually gets further away. Phew, he's gone. For now, at least. A tiny bipedal amphibian steps out from behind a garbage can. The little guy has gray skin, a wide head with large green eyes and rectangular pupils. The face dial of Izuku's watch is lodged onto its back. Izuku takes a moment to examine his new form. This form worked out better than expected. After all, if I turned into Feedback or XLR8, then I really would have gotten Kaken's attention. The tiny Izuku shivers at the thought. Even with Kaken gone, I have another problem. I'm so tiny, and Kaken is still after me. The frog-like alien takes a deep breath. Maybe this new form will work to my advantage. It'll be harder for Kaken to find me if I'm only 5 inches tall. But he'll recognize the watch if he sees it. Plus, I could accidentally get stepped on. So, how do I get out of here? The little guy looks around and spots an air vent near the ceiling. After further scanning, he notices that the janitor left his mop and bucket cart in the hall. The amphibian smirks. A few seconds later, one would be a bit shocked to see a gray frog riding the janitor cart towards the wall. The cart slams into the wall. The change in momentum launches the mop forward, allowing the frog to grab on and be flung towards the vent. Izuku crashes into the vent cover and tries to grab it, but he slides down. He adjusts his fingers and he stops moving. That's when Izuku realizes that this form can stick to walls. I probably could have climbed up if I had known. Izuku takes a moment or two to unscrew the vent with his finger before crawling inside. Once inside, he takes a moment to take a little pride in himself. I guess being little has its advantages. Now, how do I navigate this place? Izuku taps his chin in thought. He then squats down and begins drawing out an overview of the school with his finger onto the dusty floor of the vent. Well, I'm near the science room, so I'm on the east side of the building. And if I remember correctly, the air conditioning units are over here on the roof. Based off that, I can determine how the vents are laid out in comparison to the school facilities, and thus I can find the best route to get outside. Izuku points at his exit and jogs towards it. Strange, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty smart on my own. However, it seems that this specific alien species has an increased intellect. As Izuku makes a few turns here and there, and even a high jump at one point, he can eventually spot sunlight in the distance. The entire time he's trying to come up with a good name for this alien. Ek? No. Tiny genius. No, how about ace student? That's even worse. Izuku glances at his gray hand. Gray anatomy? Gray matter? Ah, that's it. I shall call this new form gray matter. Gray matter pries the exit vent open as he declares his name to the world. Gray matter smiles proudly as he takes a breath of fresh air and enjoys the heat of the sun. Not to mention bask in the fact that he managed to avoid Bakugo. Gray matter peers down and sees the barrier surrounding the school a mere 5 feet away. Walking back a few feet, human feet, Gray matter takes a running stance, and with a determined look in his eye, he sprints towards freedom. The gray alien leaps off the vent, flying through the air, and lands safely onto the barrier. From there, he sticks himself to the side of the outer wall and safely climbs down, just in time for the watch to flash red, transforming the alien back to human. Izuku glows with pure joy that he got away scot-free. Happily holding his backpack and notebook, Izuku heads off for 13's agency with high hopes. Hi, 13. Izuku is so excited that his yell actually shakes a few items in 13's office. 13 adjusts their helmet's earpiece just in case Izuku's voice becomes too loud again. Oh, hello Midoriya. Good to see you. 13 places a few papers onto their desk. Izuku replies from his seat. Nice to see you too. Listen, I filed the report about the watch, but I have yet to receive any information back, and there hasn't been any requests or reports made for its location or return. Izuku sits up with a hopeful look. That said, I'm still not completely comfortable with you having it. Izuku slouches in his chair in dejection. I understand. Not to mention, you already used it 3 separate times. 13 grabs their computer monitor and spins it around, showing several images of Izuku in his various alien forms. The photos seem to be taken by various security cameras. One photo is Izuku in the alleyway as feedback. Another is a photo taken while he was zipping around as XLR-8, so you only see the streak of blue. And the last photo is of gray matter climbing down the school wall. How'd you get those? Like I mentioned yesterday, my job as a plumber is to monitor any and all alien activity on Earth. That includes teenagers that don't follow directions and use alien devices as toys. Izuku bows his head. I'm sorry. 13 sighs. Luckily for you, I am able to erase footage like this in order for aliens and those associated with them to remain discreet. But that doesn't mean it's a sound system. Even if people assume that it's just someone with a mutation, there is still the risk of aliens being exposed. 13 glares at the ashamed teen. What you did was incredibly irresponsible. Do you understand that? Izuku is trembling. He feels so ashamed that he can't look the pro hero in the eye. Why, yes, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I disappointed you. 13's eyes soften. I'm not disappointed. Heck, I'm not even mad at you. They lean back into their chair. I'm a bit frustrated by all of this and with myself. After all, I really should have expressed the severity of this situation better to you. And I'm just worried about what the watch can do and what unforeseen consequences it may have. So, I shouldn't be allowed to use it. Izuku grips the watch as if it'll be ripped away from him. It'll just be a strange watch that can't tell time. It'll just be something useless. A tear drips from his freckled cheek. That's how it should be. Oh, okay. The tears begin flowing. Izuku tries his best to hide them by slouching forward, allowing his hair to cover his face. 13 watches on in thoughtful reflection. This boy. He means well, but he lacks restraint. Then again, that might be expected when one grows up without a quirk. Seeing everyone do amazing feats like it's normal, but never be able to have what makes yourself unique. This watch really is a dream come true for him. Can you answer something for me, Midoriya? Izuku sniffs, rubbing his eyes as he picks his head up. 13 looks the young man in the eye as they ask him a question. Why do you want to be a hero? Izuku thinks about his answer before answering. I'm a quirkless kid without any powers. But ever since I could remember, all I've ever wanted to do was be a hero. A hero that saves everyone with a smile. A smile that inspires and gives them hope. And honestly, I nearly gave up on that dream. Izuku holds the watch up in appreciation. But then I found this watch, and it's able to give me powers. Powers that I could only dream about. Powers that I would hopelessly wish for. Yet here it is sitting on my wrist. So, maybe it's a sign that I can be a hero. Izuku's eyes burn with a silent passion that's determined to prove his self-worth. And 13 can sense it. All right. Huh. I think. No, I believe that you can be a hero. Izuku stares wide-eyed at the rescue hero. Really? Yup. And I'll help you make that dream into a reality. Really? Izuku shoots up out of the chair with a mix of disbelief and excitement. Yes, but there will be some caveats. Anything is fine with me. 13 holds up a finger. 1. Don't go using the watch for personal gain. 2. Don't tell anyone about the watch, aliens, or the plumbers. Izuku comedically bows rapidly. Okay, I promise. Wait, there's a third condition. The last condition is that you must assist me in plumber work. Izuku gives the hero a surprised look. Excuse me. You heard right. You see, the plumbers on Earth are extremely understaffed, and bringing in pro heroes could complicate things. Also, while employed under the plumber name, you will be allowed to keep and use the watch as you see fit. So, this is also in your favor as well. Tears of joy begin to form. So, this really means, yes, you can be a hero. 13 stands and raises their hand towards the boy. I will help you achieve that goal. Thank you. That means a lot to me. Izuku clenches at his heart as he tries to prevent himself from crying. 13 pats his shoulder and lets him get his emotions out. I wonder if I should tell Midoriya about him. No, it's not my place to tell. Perhaps someday, he will find out for himself. In the meantime, I'll watch over him. Who knows what the future has in store? I'm sorry, but why am I doing this again? The Red Hulk turns towards the street where 13 is watching him. 13 walks over towards the red alien. You need to get a handle on your powers. This place is secluded, free of the public eye, and well hidden. The perfect place for you to train and practice. Not to mention you can do some real good for the public by removing all of this waste and trash. If that's the case, the red alien easily chucks the broken appliances onto the side of the road. Then 4 arms is perfect for the job. 4 arms flexes to emphasize his point. 13 raises an eyebrow at the morphed Izuku. 4 arms? 4 arms sheepishly smiles while 2 of his hand rub fingers and another hand rubs the back of his neck. Yeah, I've been given these aliens names. Oh, I guess that's all right. I don't really have a problem with it. They will later regret that statement. Where is all this trash going anyway? The metal is going to UA, where the support course can make great use of it. The rest is going either to the recycling plant or the dump. It's always good to recycle. Also, I wanted to show you this. 13 hands the red alien a binder. 4 arms flips through the binder, reading the title. The All-American Dream Plan? A new colleague of mine wrote it up for me. It's a detailed training regiment to help you prepare for the UA entrance exam in 10 months. I did, however, edit a few things here and there to accommodate for alien transformation training. The 4-eyed alien grips the binder a little tighter. Do you really think I can do it? 13 places a hand on the kid's shoulder. Of course. Thanks. I do have one question though. What's this physical and stamina training? Oh, that. Well, because of the transformation time limit, you need to be able to hold your own without it. 13 takes the binder and flips to a different page. This will help build your strength, speed, and stamina so you can last long enough to transform after the 10-minute recharge time is up. Fittingly, the watch begins to flash red. Speaking of 10 minutes, Izuku squeezes his arm and pats himself. A single tear forms from his eye. Goodbye, muscles. Don't worry, hopefully with this, you'll have your own. 13 hands Izuku back the binder before taking a look at their phone. But for now, you should get to school. For this morning, I just wanted to explain how we'll be going about your training. Right, so I should come back right after school. Correct. All right, I'll see you then. And thanks for everything. You're welcome. Izuku slings his backpack over his shoulder and runs off for school with a grateful smile on his face. I'm going to have to work hard. Izuku glances down at his wrist. It may have been luck that I found this, but when you think about it, I haven't earned it. That's why I'll make it my goal to clean the entire beach. I'm going to train and work hard, and I'll prove that I've earned this gift. And I won't let anything stop me from becoming a hero. Izuku pushed through the school day. The only thing on his mind was his preparation work for the UA entrance exam. After reading through the entire All-American Dream Plan, why does that sound like something All Might would write up? He figures that he should try and fit in as much physical training as he can in his off hours. Home, school, etc. Izuku writes all of his ideas down into his regular school notebook, not wanting to risk attract Bakugo's attention again with either his hero nor alien notebooks. To be honest, the hot-tempered and foul-mouthed blonde has actually been behaving himself today. Well, he's still cursing and shouting at people, but he has yet to blow anybody up. So, that's a good sign, right? At the end of the school day, an arm flings itself onto Izuku's shoulders. Henzu Uichi nonchalantly smiles as Izuku freezes up thinking he was Bakugo. Hey buddy, sorry for flaking out on you yesterday, but I needed to blow off some steam. Why, yeah, I understand. Izuku shy looks away. But what got you so upset? Nothing really, there's just this guy that's been bugging a friend of mine, and he won't cut it out. I tried to get him to go away, but it didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Dude, you're so naive, Henzu smiles anyway. Thanks, man. The black-haired teen spots Izuku's watch. Henzu's eyes widen in surprise and annoyance, recognizing the green symbol as the same one that black-skinned tentacled hero was wearing when he rescued Bakugo. Cool, watch. Where'd you get it? Izuku pulls the watch out of sight. It was a gift. Yeah, a very special gift. Henzu doesn't look convinced. It came from, a very kind and friendly store owner that I know. Izuku is sweating profusely as Henzu considers his answer. Is that so? Henzu shrugs. I have no reason to doubt ya. So, you want to get a bite to eat? Sure, but really quick, I have somewhere to be later. Sweet. What is it you have planned? I have, training. Izuku flinches, expecting a bad response. Henzu frowns. Training. For what? Oh, don't tell me. Izuku shyly presses his fingers together. Well, the test is 10 months away, so I should start training sooner rather than later. Dude, although I like your resolve, and this is going to sound harsh, but I gotta ask. Why are you doing this to yourself? Izuku silently gasps before asking in a near-silent whisper. What do you mean? The rugged teen sighs heavily in annoyance and disappointment. You are quirkless. Izuku's heart drops. Even if you train as hard as you possibly can, even if you get accepted, you'll always be at a major disadvantage. You'll never be able to compete on the same level as everyone else. Izuku is shaking. His breathing is hitched. But he does his best to come up with a reply. You don't know that. I can still give it a try, can't I? Henzu tisks. Whatever. I still think you're wasting your time. Hell, I still don't know what you see in heroes. Izuku immediately becomes defensive. But they're so cool, they. Save me the propaganda, man. Henzu waves Izuku off before stomping away. Where are you going? Aren't we going to get something to eat? Henzu's hand grazes a nearby light switch, absorbing the electricity. Nah, I lost my appetite. Instead, I'm going to go blow off some steam. A small amount of electricity discharges from his hand as the dark marks under his eyes spread further down his face. Henzu smiles maliciously. Or maybe I'll go beat up some whelp for some sweet cash. Izuku watches as his disgruntled friend marches away. There he goes. Izuku takes his time leaving the school. What he said hurts, but I know that he means well. Besides, I've got the watch now. A small smile begins to form. I can compete and stand tall with everyone else. That's why I'm training to get stronger, to get better, to become a hero. Smiling brightly, and with a glint in his eye, Izuku looks towards a bright future. I will become a hero that saves everyone with a smile. Smiling with glee, Izuku sprints towards the beach and his goals. And so, began Izuku's hellish training under 13's supervision and coaching. The rescue hero's experience as a teacher really pulled through in keeping the teen motivated. Every week, they would focus the training on one alien transformation. For example, 1 week Izuku practiced using feedback's powers and abilities by absorbing electricity from abandoned electronics, and then blasting designated target trash across the dump site. The next week, XLR-8 was running around the trash, while also avoiding being sucked up by surprise attacks from 13. The following week, 13 provided many different types of puzzles, questions, and equations to test gray matter's knowledge. They also had the little Galvin run across the junk piles, as if in an obstacle course. The fourth week, Four Arms was hauling tons of trash across the beach with various techniques. However, what was the most grueling thing for Izuku was when he wasn't in alien form. Whenever the watch timed out, 13 would have him train his body for an hour before he was allowed to continue practicing. While as a human, 13 would have him haul trash through various methods as to help develop all of his muscles rather than a select few, even bringing out exercise equipment every now and then. Then, of course, there was Izuku's own personal training regimen. He began the habit of doing small exercises while in class by bringing in smaller weights. He would jog early in the mornings, and he even got his mother to cook healthier foods for him. He also stopped using the watch outside of training, just in case he ran into Bakugo or Henzu in one of his altered forms. Throughout his training, he did manage to make time to hang out with his best friend, Henzu. Even if most of the time it results in Izuku having a heart attack or getting into trouble. Much to his mother's dismay. She really doesn't approve of Izuku's friendship with the delinquent, but she allows it cause he's her son's only friend. As for school, Izuku managed to keep up and excel in his classes. Partially because 13 would actually allow Izuku to use gray matter to do some of his homework as to test the alien's intellect. Heck, it's actually gotten to the point that 13 brought in some advanced workbooks from Yua. Another plus side is that Bakugo seemingly decided to outright ignore his childhood friend. But every now and then he tried to put Izuku's in what he thinks is his place. And this is what Izuku's life was like for the next month. Throughout the month, he also learned a few things about the plumbers and aliens. So, yes, aliens to live on Earth, but they keep their presence on the down low and keep to themselves most of the time. Most of them can easily blend into modern-day society since they can pass themselves off as having mutation-type quirks. However, there is not that large of a population of aliens on Earth for several reasons. No real reason to come to Earth. The Earthlings have yet to achieve efficient space travel, but mainly because of the heroes and quirks. With such powerful heroes that are trained to take on powerful villains, it's a bit of a risk to have one discover their identity for fear that the public will see them as a threat. Plus, even conquering cultures of alien don't interact with Earth, seeing it as too much of a challenge and a waste of resources. That leaves a small population of quiet and peaceful aliens that choose to make Earth their home. Because of this, these aliens don't cause any trouble, hence why the plumbers in Japan are understaffed. There isn't a lot of reason to prioritize resources for a division that gets no trouble from the aliens they're supposed to be monitoring. And as things are now, that's not really going to change anytime soon. Somewhere above Earth's orbit, a damaged space cruiser is currently undergoing repairs. Within the medical bay, there is a large cylindrical recovery tank that's filled with tentacle-like wires, all of which are attached to a green-skinned octopus-like alien in a comatose-like state. Nearly half of its body is burned away, with much of the body missing, such as an entire leg and arm, and even part of its upper body. A red and black humanoid drone approaches the tank while observing a monitor. Vitals are stable. Waking in 3, 2, 1. Greetings, Master. The commander awakens from within the tank. A respirator attached to his mouth is assisting his breathing. Taking a heavy and painful breath, the alien speaks between gasps. How long have I been like this? The monitor drone replies. 730 hours. I've been unconscious for a month. Report. Where is the Omnitrix? The Omnitrix is not in our possession. The alien commander is so angry that he would destroy the monitor drone if he could. What? The battle nearly cost me my life. And you say, the Omnitrix is not in my possession. Sensors indicated that a probe was jettisoned from the ship before it was destroyed, and it landed on the planet below. The monitor drone generates a projection of Earth. While you were under, Master, we have been monitoring the Omnitrix. We've been able to pinpoint when and where the Omnitrix has been activated. Use, as in someone, has already claimed it. Yes. Have you tracked it down? Yes. The wearer of the Omnitrix seems to be located on Earth in a country called Japan. For a split second, the commander looks surprised and then intrigued. Earth, I know of it. It's the fire breather's home world. And if I'm not mistaken, many beings on that planet are equipped with unique powers and abilities. The commander considers his options. This complicates everything. If the population of this planet become wise to my intentions, there is no thought that they will rise up to challenge me. I need to think about this strategically. It's Friday, and Izuku had agreed to meet 13 near the warehouse district. As Izuku nears the warehouse that 13 directed him to, he excitedly ran up to his trainer, who is already waiting for him there. Hi, 13. 13 futilely tries to cover their ears. You have got to stop doing that. Sorry. So, why are we here? We are here because you need a change of pace. Excuse me? 13 gives Izuku a stern look. You've been overexerting yourself. Izuku rightfully looks ashamed, probably for being caught. The All-American Dream Plan was designed to efficiently get you in shape while making sure that you could handle it. However, you haven't been following it, instead you've been pushing yourself far too much. Izuku looks away in embarrassment. How could you tell? When you're a teacher, you pick up on things like this. 13 chuckles to themselves. So, I figured why not change things up for today. For today, we will be doing some plumber business. Huh, like a mission. Izuku smiles excitedly. No, nothing like that. This is more of a inspection. Inspection? Izuku looks at the large warehouse. Does it have anything to do with this building? 13 smiles and waves Izuku towards the doors. Follow me and find out. Oh, and try not to get overexcited, alright? It may start a panic. 13 opens the large metal doors, stepping inside. Izuku hesitates before following. He has no idea what he's in for. Is he entering a secret alien base, an alien hive? Just what kind of horrible monstrosities wait for our young hero within this gigantic warehouse? A grocery store, apparently. Yup, just a very large and normal grocery store. Well, mostly normal as long as you can ignore the non-human shoppers, bizarre foods and products, and the strange smells. Aliens, not humans with mutation, but real alien from across the cosmos are going about their business. Each one of them is different. They're slimy, creepy, fast, and strong. They're every shape and size. Each one more bizarre than the last. Some, however, are wearing regular human clothing, since most, if not all of them, can pass as mutated humans. For example, there is a pink rabbit-like alien with what looks like metal encases his yellow eyes, who's buying a bag of tentacles. There's a fat alien with pale pink and dull purple skin with a large round nose, 4 eyeballs, and a blue tongue. The yellow Hawaiian shirt is nice thou. There's also an alien that has an egg-like exoskeleton with the top half made of glass, 2 thin robot arms on the side, and a metal mouth mimicking sharp teeth in the front. Within the egg are 2 eyeballs held up by a green-like slime. Obviously, some have an easier time blending in than others. And they are all shopping for delicacies, products, and supplies that are literally out of this world. Hell, some of the food products still look alive. This is amazing. Izuku furiously scribbles away into his Hero Transformation #1 notebook, making new sections for aliens, not in the watch, alien items, and other information. 13 tries to quiet down the excitable teen. Midoriya, stop. You're scaring everybody. Indeed, the strange aliens are ironically weirded out by the kids' muttering and frantic writing. Some even leave the store, worried about their status as aliens being exposed. 13 eventually has to drag Izuku by the collar, because he's too absorbed in his hobby. The space hero drags Izuku towards a food counter near the center of the giant store. Behind the counter is an elderly gentleman who's busy restocking cans. How are you doing today, Mr. Bauman? Izuku stops writing as a sense of dread runs down his spine. Mr. Ballman sets down the last of the cans before turning around with a friendly smile. I'm doing well, thanks for asking. 13. Wait, Izuku? The teen and old man stared at each other for a few seconds, unsure about what to do. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? They both ask at the same time. 13 raises an eyebrow. You two know each other? Izuku is the one to reply. Yeah, we're neighbors. Mr. Ballman gives the teen a suspicious look. Yes, and last time I checked you're no alien. Izuku opens his mouth to ask a question, but the shopkeeper beats him to it. And no, before you ask, I am not an alien. 13 claps their hand together. Well, this makes things easier. I wanted Midoriya to get acquainted and familiar with this place. Mr. Bauman slams his fists onto the counter. No, 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 get out. Get out, get out. He jabs a finger in Izuku's face, making the teen flinch. I will not have this walking disaster in my shop. Izuku raises his hands in surrender, while smiling sheepishly. So, you're still mad about your car? Mr. Bauman leers into Izuku's quivering face. I'm furious. 13 cups their chin. Car? Wait, was that the one you fried as feedback? Mr. Bauman raises an eyebrow. Feedback. Oh, yeah, there's another reason why we came to you today. 13 leans in, raising their hand to cover their mouth, which is unnecessary since they already wear a dark helmet at all times. We need to inspect a few things out back. The old man becomes silent. He walks away from the counter towards the south end of the store. Silently, 13 gestures for them and Izuku to follow. Mr. Bauman gets to the back of the store. There, he takes them to the back room. From there, Mr. Bauman heads to the freezer, leaving the other two outside. There, he reveals a hidden keypad behind some hanging meat, and he types in a code. In the back room with Izuku and 13, a hidden door opens up from the wall, revealing a secret panic room. Mr. Bauman locks the freezer room as 13 leads Izuku inside. Once inside, Mr. Bauman locks the room shut. After making sure that no one is spy on them, Mr. Bauman speaks. All right, let's make this quick. The sooner you're out of here, the better. He glares at Izuku when he said that last part. Oh, come on, Mr. Bauman, that's not fair. Mr. Bauman simply grumbles to himself in response, trying not to curse in front of a pro hero and a plumber. 13 steps in before the situation escalates. Let's move on, shall we? The plumber gestures for the teen to hold up his left wrist. Please, take a look at this. Mr. Bauman leans into to examine Izuku's watch. What is it supposed to be? 13 can't help but admit that they feel a little disappointed by that answer. We were hoping you could tell us. Izuku finally snaps, not completely understanding why they're here. I'm sorry, but what can Mr. Bauman tell us about it? I mean, I once had to show him how to record stuff on the TV. Mr. Bauman was about to scold the boy, but 13 cut him off. Mr. Bauman owns one of, if not the best intergalactic grocery stores in all of Japan, meaning any and all alien life forms come here to shop, making Mr. Bauman one of the best informants out there since he has direct access to gossip, rumors, and other information. Mr. Bauman adjusts his glasses, examining the watch. Tell me, what do you know about it? It's a device that transforms the wearer's DNA to that of several different alien species, albeit for 10 minutes at a time. Mr. Bauman takes a minute to think. Sorry, but I've never heard of anything like this before. A thought crosses the story owner's mind that makes him frown. Does your mother know about this young man? Izuku's legs begin to tremble. Well, no, not exactly. At least Izuku has the sense to look ashamed. Mr. Bauman shakes his head in disapproval. I guess it's not my place to say anything. Another thought enters his mind and his deposition turns to anger. Wait a minute. You were wearing that thing when I lectured you a month ago. Izuku blanches. Why, yes. So, you lied about the faulty wiring accident. Izuku gives Mr. Bauman a sheepish smile. Mr. Bauman facepalms. I can't believe I bought that story. You're going to pay back the damage you did to my car. But Mr. Bauman. No, buts. You're going to take responsibility for what you did. 13 sees an opportunity here. Actually, this will be mutually beneficial for everyone. Not taking his eyes off Izuku, Mr. Bauman inquires clarification. How so? Midoriya will work here at your store every Saturday to pay off the damages. Izuku's eyes would have popped out of his head if they weren't attached to his skull. What? But what about training? You've been pushing yourself too hard. Working here will allow you to take it relatively easy while also getting familiar with the alien community in Japan. Izuku considers the proposal, such as the fact that he can meet new aliens and learn a whole lot from them. I guess that works for me. 13 and Izuku look to Mr. Bauman. I suppose it works for me as well. 13 nods their head in approval. Good. They turn towards the greenette. Also, I think we can work in some more alien practice while you're here. Izuku immediately perks up. Really? How? 13 grabs the watch, activating the dial. Go ahead and try this alien out. It's a real team player. Izuku gives his mentor a very curious look. The monitor drone sprints towards his greatly wounded commander. Master, the sensors have detected the Omnitrix. The alien commander remains silent for a moment. Send an infiltration drone to retrieve the Omnitrix. The commander has a coughing fit. After calming down, he continues. Kill the wielder of the Omnitrix, if that is required. Clean up on aisle 9. That'll be 126.77 yen. Can anyone tell me where we keep the flubbergusts? Figure it out for yourself, buddy. Excuse me, customers, there is a 20% discount off all blue milk. The number of aliens inside Mr. Bauman's store has greatly increased. However, most of the alien population is actually one person. Running around the store are child-sized aliens, all of which are wearing a miniature version of Mr. Bauman's dark pink store apron. The aliens have white skin, a black and white face, and black shoulders. The little employees' hands are large with 4 digits and stubby feet. They each have 3 fin-like growths on their heads, and gem-like orbs on their arms and waists. While the little aliens are round about, Mr. Bauman is busy drying a glass cup with a contempt smile on his face, enjoying the lack of stress and work. This is working out better than I thought. 13, who is sitting at the booth, nods. Agreed. One of the short aliens sits next to the plumber. Yeah, I'll say. The slacking alien takes a sip from his soda. Mr. Bauman's eyebrows scrunch. Shouldn't you be working? I'm taking my break. 13 and Mr. Bauman glaze over to a second clone that's seated next to the first. This clone, however, is writing away in his notebook. I'm just doing some observations. Don't mind me. Mr. Bauman and 13 stare blankly. Mr. Bauman shrugs. I guess it doesn't matter. 13 gains the 2 aliens' attention. So, how's the new alien? The clones smile brightly. He's awesome. The second clone nods in agreement. Ditto. The first clone looks over to his counterpart. Oh, that's a good name. The other clone scratches his head. I'm not so sure. Then let's put it to a vote. All those in favor of the name Ditto say aye. In less than a second, a small army of clones multiply out from the first alien, and all together they state their votes. Aye. The first clone jumps for joy. And democracy has won the day. This election was rigged. Mr. Bauman rubs his head, trying to prevent a migraine. Quiet down, all of you, and get back to work. Nearly the entire army of Dittos salute in response. Yes, sir. They then disperse across the store to help in various tasks, minus the first Ditto, who took his seat back. You know Izuku, at this rate, You'll pay up your debt in another month or less. Sweet. Ditto looks up towards Mr. Bauman with a hopeful glint in his eyes. So, all is forgiven. Mr. Bauman scrunches up his face in thought before giving a calm smiling. All is forgiven. Woohoo. A knocking can be heard from behind the large entrance doors. A Ditto manning a checkout booth is the first to hear it. The knocking continues. The little clone decides to see what's making the continuous noise. All right, I'm coming. I'm Comga. A decent-sized explosion sends the Ditto flying. Mr. Bauman, 13, and the rest of the Dittos stand at attention, hearing the blast and the clone's scream of surprise. Back near the entrance, the down Ditto rubs his head as some of his fellow comrades help him up. One of the customers, an alien that kinda looks like their flesh is made of marshmallows, yells out in fear. What the heck is that? A 40-foot tall red and orange robot bursts through the entrance. The tall attack drone has humanoid-like features, large metal claws, large red insect-like eyes, and 3 insectoid legs. The alien customers begin to scream and panic as they make their way to the exits. All the while Mr. Bauman, 13, and other Dittos get them all to safety. The assault drone steps forward, locking onto the surprised and cowering Dittos, specifically onto the symbols on their heads. The robot's eyes glow red as a laser beam fire out. Acting fast, the Dittos merge into one clone to avoid the beam. The remaining Ditto scrambles away in fear, screaming all the way. The robot gives chase, shooting lasers at the fleeing alien. As the robot rampages, the other extraterrestrials are stampeding away. One of the Dittos is heavily bothered by their terrified expressions. The same Ditto glares up at the rampaging intruder. Meanwhile, the Ditto being chased dives behind some shelves. The robot takes aim, ready to blast its target. A tin can clanks off its head. Hey buddy, the robot turns its metallic head. If you mess with one of me, then you mess with all of me. The Ditto holds his hands up wide as other Dittos stand with him. The robot actually takes a step back, as if wary of the increasingly large army. What's the matter? Are we too much to handle? One of the clones folds his arms together, looking very smug. If you wanted a fight, then you should have brought some friends with ya. The robot's eyes blink before taking a moment to scan the entire store, picking up on all other Dittos in the area. Now fully understanding the situation, the bot's metallic shoulders begin to shift and 2 orange and red discs fly out. The discs begin to expand until they become UFO-shaped drones with thin insectoid arms. The hover drones aim target lights at the bewildered Dittos. The Dittos are too stunned to move. One of the clones deadpans a look at the clone that decided to be smug. You just had to say something. The once smug clone smiles in embarrassment. The hover drones open fire on the Dittos, who scream in fear. A few even have tears in their eyes as they run away. The assault robot joins in on the onslaught, blasting lasers from its eyes. The Dittos manage to avoid the blasts, but the same cannot be said about the store shelves. As the Dittos spread out, so do the attackers, the latter trying to eliminate as many clones as they can. One of the lasers detonates a little too close to one Ditto. The Ditto is blown away, skidding across the ground. The morphed Izuku can feel the heat from the blast burning his arm, and his harsh fall doesn't help matters. 3 other Dittos scream out at once, despite only one of them being hit. Ouch, that hurt. The down Ditto looks up at the other 3. Wait, you felt that? I did. I felt it, too. Another Ditto points at his clones. Wait, how did you guys feel that? You weren't even hit. A looming shadow falls over the small group of clones. Hovering above them is one of the hover drones, aiming its blasters at the distracted aliens. As the Dittos stare up in horror, as the blaster makes a buzzing sound as it prepares to fire. The wind picks up. Dust, debris, and store products begin to flow towards a single point. The hover drone gets pulled by some invisible force as food and broken shells fly around it. Also being gravitated away, the Dittos multiply to form an alien chain that attaches itself onto a metal pole. The chain then re-emerge with themselves until only one Ditto is attached to the pole. The hover drone is eventually sucked into 13's black hole. 13 covers their finger, stopping the attack. Midoriya, you're a Splixen. No, I'm an alien. Yes, an alien that has shared senses. Another Ditto seemingly pops his head out from a pile of cans. What does that mean? It means a hover drone latches onto 13 trying to push them away. 13 in turn tries to pry the enemy away. If one clone feels pain, then all clones feel it. Oh, is that all? No. 13 manages to push the drone over their head, letting it fly a distance away. 13 activates their quirk, sucking up the hover drone. If one of your clones die, a mechanical clank resounds over them, drawing 13's and Ditto's attention. The assault robot towers over them, flexing its metallic claws that shift and change to form into dual-arm cannons. The cannons begin to charge up as the metal monstrosity takes aim. More Dittos pop out from their hiding places as the main Ditto gulps. Then, we all die. The robot open fires, sending the heroes diving for cover. 13 slides away towards the store's center food stall. They then jump over the counter to use it for cover. A blast launches a Ditto towards the stand. The Ditto rolls on the ground before slamming into the side of the food stall. The dizzy Ditto lands upside down against the booth. The Ditto shakes his head, regaining his senses. What do we do? 13's eyes furrow as they stand up watching, as the assault robot gets distracted by other Dittos running around. We stand and fight. Another Ditto pops out from one of the cupboards. What? But what about the other heroes? Someone must have noticed by now and called the police. No, they wouldn't. The Ditto that slammed against the booth joins 13 behind it. How come? There's a holographic cloaking device around the entire perimeter that prevents bystanders and heroes from noticing this place. Well, isn't that convenient? It sure is, replies the Ditto in the cupboard. I was being sarcastic. 13 jumps back over the counter. Come on, we need to stop these things. But how? I'm a short alien, with no speed nor strength. I can't even shoot lasers. How am I supposed to help? I mean, if just one of me dies, then rest of me will die. Izuku is truly inhabiting the Dittos because each one of them in the vicinity begin to mutter and ramble on in a panic about what they can and cannot do. 13 places a calming hand on the nearest Ditto. Izuku. The reassuring voice, a clearly practiced and well-tuned voice that came after years of rescuing panicked victims, instantly calms Izuku right down. So much so that even the other Dittos that aren't even present quiet down as well. Kneeling down, 13 looks the alien Izuku right in the eye, their gaze silently saying that everything is going to work out. We all have one life. Life isn't a video game where you get restarts and extra lives. This is reality. And in reality, everybody only gets one chance, one life. There are never do-overs. Once you're gone, you're gone. Ditto frowns, feeling very scared, and even smaller than he already is. Life is fragile, but that is what makes life so precious. Because everyone only gets one life, we need heroes that are willing to put their lives on the line to ensure that the innocent can live their lives out in peace. Izuku meets 13's eyes, their words really resonating within him. Do you think you can risk your life for others? With a determined glow in his eyes, Ditto stands straighter and gives the pro-hero a nod. 13 nods back. Then it's time to be a hero. 13 and Ditto march towards the rampaging assault robot. More Dittos join in formation behind the two. The remaining Dittos around the store join in. But rather than join the procession, they all morph back into each other, bringing the number of Dittos down to 7. Noticing the lack of targets, the robot turns to face off against the approaching heroes. Standing tall, Ditto raises a fist and proclaims, "Bring it on, you giant tin can." Only for the watch to flash red, reverting all the Dittos back into a single bewildered Izuku. 13 stares wide-eyed at this new predicament. Time for another lesson. You can't save others if you can't save yourself. Such wisdom. Outside the warehouse store, Mr. Bauman is running as fast as he can, which isn't really that fast, to his American 1967 muscle car. That car is his most prized possession. He'd be crazy to leave it behind and risk having it get destroyed by the manic robot or worse, Izuku. He fumbles with his keys trying to unlock the door. Once unlocked, he steps inside and sighs a breath of relief. The bane of Mr. Bauman's existence bursts out of the emergency exit door, screaming in terror at the top of his lungs. Izuku is in such hysteria that he slams into the side of Mr. Bauman's car, denting the hood. Adrenaline allows Izuku to ignore the pain as he thrusts himself away. As he runs, the Greenette shouts back an apology. "I'm sorry, Mr. Bauman." Mr. Bauman steps out of his car, shaking his fist. "Izuku, get back here and clean up this mess." The side of the store is blasted away as the assault robot smashes through it. Hanging onto its shoulder is 13. The space hero does their best to wrestle the robot away from the fleeing Izuku. It works a bit, throwing the tall robot off balance. The robot sidesteps, nearly stepping on the American muscle car. Mr. Bauman crouches down, begging for the menace to not damage his car as the robot's insectoid legs dance around the vehicle, nearly smashing it to bits. The robot grabs 13, prying them off of itself. 13 is able to pry themselves from its grip, falling down to the cement below, and narrowly landing on Mr. Bauman's car. Mr. Bauman watches as the robot begins to march in the direction that Izuku took off from. Holding their head, 13 aims their finger directly at the robot. The gravitational pull slows the monstrosity down. In response, the robot turns its head. Its eyes light up before launching a beam at the hero. 13 ducks, ending their attack, with the laser whizzing past their head. The beam continues its path. Unfortunately, that path leads right towards Mr. Bauman's car. The laser passes right through the side of the car, as if it was made of paper, leaving a gaping circular hole right through the center. Mr. Bauman falls to his knees as 13 continues the battle. "No, not again." Meanwhile, Izuku continues running with tears leaking from his eyes and a terrified expression on his face. He doesn't have a destination in mind. In truth, he just keeps running. He eventually recognizes a few streets and corner stores that he usually passes by whenever he goes to Dagaba Municipal Beach from school. He figures that hiding amongst the large heaps of trash will be perfect for laying low, at least until 13 can reach him. It doesn't take long for Izuku to reach the involuntary junkyard. It's enough time for the watch to finish recharging. Izuku bends over, breathing heavily, trying to regain his breath. Slowing down his racing heart is not Izuku's main concern, rather the regret he feels is. After all, he left 13 behind to face the metal menace alone. Sure, the customers and Mr. Bauman were able to escape, but that doesn't lessen the pit in his stomach. How could he leave his mentor, his teacher, the first person to believe in him, behind like that? 13's last piece of advice enters his mind, that one cannot save others if they can't save themselves. This advice circles in his mind until it clicks. There is no shame in retreating. After all, if he stayed, he would have just been dead weight, slowing the professional hero down and putting himself in danger. But now that he's safe, 13 can focus on the fight without worrying about him. Also, that robot was really scary, so it works out that he was able to escape. Izuku smiles softly in relief. At least I'm safe here. The sound of a helicopter resonates overhead, getting increasingly louder. Curiously, Izuku looks up. He spots the source of the noise, and his eyes expand with dread. The assault robot crashes down onto a junk pile, smashing it into the sand and generating a cloud of dust that swirls around the metal beast. The robot towers over Izuku, its beady red eyes glowing with the intent to harm. The instinct to run is there, but Izuku's legs refuse to move. His mind replays recent events, the rampage at the store, targeting him, and 13's lesson on heroism. Right now, with nobody to worry about, with no witnesses, it is the perfect time to be a hero. It's hero time, Izuku slams down on his watch. The boy can feel his body changing within the green energy. Feels his jaw lengthen and his teeth sharpening. He can feel his skin turn dry and flaky. He can even feel gaps in his neck forming. Eventually, the odd sensations end. Now standing on the beach is a tall fishman with a mouth full of protruding sharp teeth, webbed hands and feet, greenish-gray skin, and a lure like that of an angler fish sits upon its forehead. Whoa, now this is cool. The robot shifts. From its shoulders, two more hover drones emerge. The fishman growls. What's the matter? Can't take me on alone. The assault bot slams its claw down, but Izuku is too quick on his feet. Ironic since he's a fish out of water. The alien fish uses the bot's arm as a springboard at the same time that the robot pulls its arm free from the sand. The force of the jump propels Izuku towards one of the hover drones. Expanding his mouth, displaying his sharp, jagged teeth, Izuku takes a giant bite out of the drone. Izuku lands safely onto the sand just as the remains of the bitten drone combust and crash into a junk pile. Man, I'm going to have to clean that up later, gah. Izuku is having trouble breathing. He's actually gasping for air. So much so that he almost feels like he's choking, like he's completely running out of oxygen. That's when he holds his neck and realizes something that should have been pretty obvious to him from the start. He has gills, the robot, and the remaining drone charge, firing lasers at the fishman. Izuku barely avoids the onslaught as he rushes towards the ocean. With a mighty leap, Izuku dives into the refreshing and breathable water. The fish alien takes deep breaths. Looking down, Izuku notices that his legs have merged together to become a mermaid-like tail. Up on the beach, the assault robot aims its arm cannons down towards the waves, firing a barrage of lasers into the water. Acting fast, Izuku swiftly and somewhat gracefully evades them all. Meanwhile, the hover drone flies over the water trying to pinpoint him. Izuku leaps out of the water, and with one chomp Izuku grabs the drone and pulls down into the water, where it leaks oil, sparking from its gash marks before shutting down. Making sure to finish the job, Izuku lodges his sharp claws into it, and using his increased strength to tear the drone in half. I think it's time to go after the Whopper. Izuku pops his head out of the water before diving back down just in time to avoid getting his head vaporized. The assault robot continues its barrage of attacks, using its sensors to lock on to Izuku's alien watch. Unfortunately for the tin can, Izuku is too quick for it, especially in the water. Izuku lunges out of the water, grabbing onto the robot's right cannon. He takes a bite, ripping off the robot's arm. Lose something, tin can? The robot uses its last claw to swipe at the fishman. It hits its mark, launching Izuku into the sand. And acting fast, the robot pins him down. Apparently not. The robot leans in, its eyes glowing, aiming a laser for the fishman's head. Not letting fear take over, Izuku grabs a metal pole and lodges it into the robot's arm. With the grip loosened, Izuku wiggles free just as the laser blasts the sand. The detonation was too close and powerful that the robot's face is damaged by its own attack. The robot sparks as it straightens up, not giving it a chance to recover. Izuku tears through two of the bot's legs. The robot tips over, falling onto a pile of scrap metal. A large piece of metal pierces through the robot's right shoulder, making its right cannon useless. The robot shakily turns its head, sparks flying out from its eyes and neck, trying to find its target. Izuku jumps up, his piercing claws at the ready, and stabs through the chest of the downed robot. The sound of gears shifting stops as the glow of the robot's eyes dim. Izuku frees his scaly hand from the robot, taking a few deep breaths before remembering that he needs water. Turning around, Izuku dives into the shallow shore, so that at least his gills are in the water. Izuku smiles in contempt. Ah, much better. With his back turned, he fails to notice the red eyes blinking back to life. The robot's head shakes violently as it aims one final attack. It never gets the chance to, however, as it, and the entire scrap heap it was laying on gets sucked up into the nothingness that is 13's black hole. Midoriya, are you all right? Finally taking notice, Izuku reels around. I'm real good. Ha, 13, you should have seen me. I was ripping through these guys like they were nothing. 13 approaches the water. Understandable, Pisxis volans are known for their powerful jaws that can rip through anything. Izuku cups his chin, or where his chin would be, but fish don't have chins. Jaws rip. Jaws rip. No, Ripjaws. Yeah. Ripjaws smiles happy with his name. He takes a mental note to write that name down in his notebook. After some time, Izuku turns back to normal. Together, 13 and him look out to the open ocean, simply enjoying the fresh ocean breeze and the gorgeous view. 13 places a hand on the boy's shoulder. Good job today, Midoriya. Izuku is a little nervous to ask. Really? Oh, yeah. For being untrained in combat or hero work in general. You did amazing work today. And it's true, he not only fought off 3 killer robots all on his own, but he also helped guide aliens away from danger back at the store when he was Ditto. Also, because he went to the beach, he was able to avoid involving other people and heroes into the mix. Thanks. Don't mention it. Though it is a bit concerning. What is? That robot was targeting you. Do you think it was after the watch? Maybe, can't be too certain. Who knows? Maybe it just didn't like your hair. Why wouldn't it like my hair? And why does that even matter? 13 gives Izuku a deadpanned expression. What I mean is that I have no clue why it came after you. Oh. 13 waves it off. Don't worry about it. Just take the day off tomorrow, alright? And in the meantime, I have to file a report. I'll also look into what that bot was after. 13 doesn't look very happy. Probably because this will take too much paperwork that's going to keep them up for several hours tonight. Izuku nods. Sounds good. Also, 13. HM. Thanks for saving me today. 13 pats Izuku's head, fluffing up his already messy green hair. It was no problem at all. The alien commander examines the footage that was broadcasted by the assault robots and its drones. The commander glares at the sight of the Omnitrix upon the Splixons. The image of one of Earth's heroes interfering really frustrates him as well. And the sight of the drones being torn apart by the Pisxis Volan infuriates him to no end. The Omnitrix should be his and not in the hands of a lower life form. His entire plan, his ambitions are falling apart because of some child. Yes, the most upsetting piece of information received was that of a human child wearing the Omnitrix. The most powerful weapon in the galaxy is controlled by a being whose species haven't been able to achieve space travel. Talk about pathetic. Yet, here it is. A small boy with green hair and a freckled face is all that stands between the commander and his quest for galactic conquest. Unfortunately for the boy, this being has experience with removing obstacles that hinder his ambitions. A week has passed since the robot attack, but no mention of the robots ever made it onto the news. As it turns out, 13 wasn't lying about the giant hologram around the warehouse. Nobody noticed a thing. Plus, as a bonus, the robot actually turned invisible to escape 13 before using its legs as helicopter blades to go after Izuku. So, no one witnessed it flying over the buildings. Training picked right back up with Izuku's strength training combined with some practice as Ditto. According to 13, his physical capabilities should transfer over to his alien forms and vice versa. So, with an army of Dittos, Izuku took to clearing the trashed beach. Unfortunately, he was 10 times more exhausted by the end of each workout when compared to before. It also doesn't help that Ditto is half his own size. Saturday eventually rolled around. Early that morning, Izuku set off for Mr. Bauman's store only for the old man to kick him out. According to Mr. Bauman, he literally can't afford to have Izuku anywhere near his store, claiming that he's the reason for ruining his store and scaring his customers. Of course, that isn't completely true, but in Mr. Bauman's eyes, it might as well be. So, with nothing else to do, Izuku decides to text Henzu Uichi, figuring it's been a while since they've hung out, while treading off away from the warehouse district. Henzu gets back to him rather quickly, complaining about how early it is, but suggests that they should head over to the Kiyoshi Ward shopping mall. There's a new arcade there that he's been wanting to scout out. Smiling happily, Izuku heads for the train station. Somewhere in Kiyoshi Ward, a man dressed in a brown business suit slams his fist onto the door of a rundown and shabby apartment building. The windows are cracked and boarded up. The sides of the outer wall are falling apart, and the cement walkway is cracked. "Yo, Anemo, I know you're in there. Open up." Getting no reply, the man pulls out a key, unlocks the door, and steps inside. The apartment is cluttered with filthy tanks and cages strewn about with various animals, from fish, lizards, birds, and rodents. The TV appears to be left on in the corner of the large room. The man holds his nose. "Smells like a zoo in here." He walks through the apartment, stepping over the smaller cages, looking for the only human resident. Entering the farthest end of the living room, the man curiously watches a large frog hop about its terrarium, oblivious to the figure approaching him from behind. The man turns around and yelps in surprise. "How did you get in?" demands a scratchy-voiced old man. The withered old man has greenish skin, long white hair that clearly hasn't been washed in weeks, and crooked teeth. The man's clothes are dark and ragged. They too have not been washed or mended to seen, as his shirt is torn up in places. The man composes himself, fixing his tie. "The key. I am still your landlord, remember? Maybe not, because your rent is 6 months past due." Anemo stares at the man as if he's crazy before shrugging him off. "All my funds go into my research." He says it in a way that sounds like that should have been obvious. "Now get out. You're disturbing me." Anemo turns away and fiddles with something on his desk. The landlord gazes at the state of the apartment, noting the smells, grime, and animals. "Looks like you were disturbed long before I got here, pal. Listen, Doc. You and your furry friends are out on the street unless you pony up the green." Anemo smirks. "Pony up?" He turns, opening the terrarium, and reaches in for the large frog. Interesting choice of phrases. He places the frog on the floor before reaching for something from his desk. "You must be an animal lover. Then you're gonna love this." Anemo equips himself with a very strange device that looks like it was put together with various pieces of kitchen utensils, pieces of household appliances, and other small electronic devices. The helmet part of the device is literally a bowl strainer with 2 long antennas attached to it. Strapped to his chest is a circular disc with red lights and various dials. Staring at the device, the landlord bends over, holding his gut in a fit of laughing. Ignoring the laughter, Anemo continues. "This is my transmodulator. Tell me, do you know what my quirk does?" The landlord wipes away his tears, standing back up. "Why would I care?" "You should. My quirk allows me to alter the DNA of animals as long as I understand the physiology of the species. Admittedly, my quirk is not all that powerful. The most I can do is give these creatures longer lifespans and make them a bit bigger, maybe even change their pigmentations. However, this device will change all that. It will accelerate the mutation process at a genetic level. Observe." Pressing a few buttons and rotating a dial, the circular chest piece and the ends of the antennas spark red. The red sparks form into thin beams that fire out and begin to surge into the bullfrog. The frog starts to grow larger and larger as its warts begin to expand on its back. Horns burst from its head, and its muscles convulse. The landlord falls back screaming in horror as a giant mutant frog with bull-like horns and 4 red eyes stares down at his cowering form. Smiling like the maniac he is, Animo explains the other function of his invention. Oh, I should also mention that this device gives me complete control over my creatures. Animo begins to laugh hysterically to himself as the extra-large amphibian leans towards the horrified landlord. Like the monster it is, it gulps up the landlord before he can even blink. Panicking, the landlord desperately tries to free himself. From outside, the frog one can see the desperate attempts for freedom of flailing about in its enlarged throat. Ha ha ha. I'm sorry I can't hear you. Sounds like you got a frog in your throat. Ha ha ha. Or is that the other way around? Animo nearly falls over in laughter as the thrashing begins to diminish. Animo eventually stops laughing. Sighing, he rubs his eyes. My work is truly brilliant. But how am I, Dr. Aloysius J. Animo, supposed to show the world my genius? Leaning against his abomination, Dr. Animo wonders what to do next. He doesn't have a lot of options considering he's seen as a mockery by the science community. He has no connections, no allies, and no money. All because no one can see the potential in his quirk or in his mind. He can evolve animals, give them power that quirked individuals would be envious of. They would upstage heroes and bring a new order into this world. Yet they deny him of his rightful glory. That's when, out of corner of his eyes, he notices the TV flash to a commercial advertising the Kiyoshi Ward shopping mall. Dr. Animo grins, a plan hatching within his mind. Ah, just what the doctor ordered. The Kiyoshi Ward shopping mall is huge with stores that sell nearly everything you can think of. The mall is so large that other companies rent out their own parts of the buildings. For example, one part of the mall is used to house a radio tower. Izuku, however, is outside the mall wandering around through the expansive parking lot. Where is he? He turns here and there searching for Henzu. Henzu texted him saying that he's near the east side of the parking lot. But this place is overcrowded with people and cars. A heavy hand made of red steel grips the lost teen's shoulder from behind, making Izuku freeze up. Give me your cash if you know what's good for you. Izuku visibly relaxes. Does it even matter? I mean, you're probably going to make me pay for everything today anyway. He turns smiling at his best friend. Henzu grins, shrugging his shoulders. Fair point. He releases his quirk, turning his skin from a red metallic color back into flesh. Good to see ya, buddy. It's been a while since we did something like this. Yeah. Izuku can't help but feel bothered by the fact that Henzu was red. Because when that occurs, it's because of when he absorbs something. He also gains the pigment of said object. Did you break into something? Henzu doesn't even flinch at Izuku's bluntness. At this point, both of them are used to this sort of interaction. Instead of looking embarrassed, Henzu looks almost proud. I may or may not have broken into a car too. Besides, it's not like you got any proof. Izuku internally deadpans. He's too much sometimes. With hearty laughs, the two head for the mall, passing by a red car with a busted window. Izuku has a great time at the mall. They window shopped on their way to the arcade, with a few stores catching their attention. The greenette was practically drooling at the sight of the hero merchandise store, his eyes mesmerized by all the posters, figurines, and other collectibles. So much so that Henzu had to drag him away. Even though Henzu was annoyed by the sight of the store, he did find Izuku's reaction a bit amusing. They eventually get to their destination, a brand new and expansive arcade with all the latest gaming technologies and games of all genres. Shooting, dancing, racing, and even pinball. Henzu dominates most of the competitive games, such as the racing game, Street Fighters, and air hockey. That said, Izuku does prove himself at the co-op shooting games, skee-ball, and most solo-player games. At one point, Henzu got into an argument with a group of delinquent high schoolers. Izuku tried to break them up before a fight broke out. But Henzu got an idea. A few minutes later, Henzu is walking away a little bit richer after defeating the punks at Street Fighters. Although Izuku is pretty sure he cheated by absorbing some electricity to shock his opponents in order to throw them off. Deciding that it was enough, the duo decide to head down to the cafeteria for some lunch. Izuku folds his arms, feeling very disappointed, while also trying to avoid bumping into other shoppers. Why did you have to do that? What? You know? Realizing what he meant, Henzu rolls his eyes. Come on, Izuku, they were asking for it. Someone had to put them in their place. Izuku mutters under his breath. You didn't even win fairly. Henzu suddenly stops becoming serious. He turns so he can face his friend face to face. You've got to stop thinking like that. Stopping, Izuku's eyes widen. Like what? That playing by the rules is going to lead you to success. News flash, the concept of fair and square is total bullshit. Those rules are only in place to stop those that are superior from outshining their inferiors. Henzu folds his arms, his eyes soften slightly, but he holds his serious expression. This is something that you ought to know by now. Izuku's head droops. That doesn't make it right though. What's right and what's wrong are totally subjective. Izuku is not entirely sure what his friend is talking about. Realizing this, Henzu continues. Okay, for example, stealing is wrong, right? Of course. Okay. But what if someone stole so they could provide for their family? Is it wrong then? That's a tricky question. Well, if they had the time, I'm sure they could find another way. Henzu shakes his head in disapproval. Time isn't the problem. It's society. It's the rules that govern it, that can lead people to break the rules, to not play fairly. Izuku is still not sold on this idea. Ultimately, life ain't fair, so why should you play fair? If you have the skills to survive and provide for yourself, even if it breaks the law, then you should be able to do it. Henzu notices a girl strolling towards them. Izuku hasn't noticed her. She has shoulder-length chestnut hair with two longer clumps curving towards her round face. She is completely oblivious to the two of them within the bustling crowd. She passes them by without so much as a glance. As she walks away, Henzu turns back to Izuku. So, if I need cash for some new game system, then I should be completely justified to take it, because I have the ability to do so without anyone noticing. Henzu holds up a little pink wallet that clearly isn't his. Instantly, Izuku understands the situation. He pickpocketed the poor girl. Henzu, stop. You can't do that. Relax, she didn't even notice. Henzu smirks, feeling very cocky, as he waves the wallet around. Besides, it's not like you'd rat me out. Hey, that's mine. A feminine voice with a crossed tone yells back at them. Henzu twists around as Izuku silently begins to panic. Behind them stands the same girl that Henzu just pickpocketed. She is a short girl of slender, yet feminine build. She is fair-skinned with a perpetual blush on her cheeks. Her eyes are large and round, their irises a warm brown. She's wearing a dark pink t-shirt and black gym shorts that extend to her knees and white shoes. She holds her hand out, trying her best to look firm. Give it back, she demands with as much conviction as she can muster. Henzu gives Izuku a look, smirking mischievously, seeing an opportunity to have a teaching moment for his friend. Henzu gives the girl a nasty grin. Oh, you want it? Then you're going to have to take it back. Henzu touches the ground, absorbing the tile, thus changing his skin to the hardened substance. The round-faced girl tries her best to stay composed, but it's clear that she's not so sure about this anymore. But that's all the money she has. She literally can't afford for this thug to take it from her. Henzu is able to pick up on her hesitation. After years of taunting and picking fights, you pick up on people's mannerisms, especially when it comes to confrontations. Clearly, this girl would like to run, but she won't for whatever reason. It's an opportunity to show Izuku that if she's capable of taking the wallet back, then she earned it. But if she has to use her quirk, thus break the law to do so, the better. Even if she doesn't, Henzu will still get his point across by using his quirk. That if you want something, you need to have the will to break the rules to get it. Izuku, not quite sure what's going on, doesn't want to fight to break out. Last thing he needs is for the authorities to arrest them for thievery and illegal quirk usage. With one swift motion, Izuku swipes the wallet from the taller teen's hand. He falls onto his knees, bowing for forgiveness, holding up the wallet like an offering. I'm so sorry. Please forgive my friend. He didn't mean it. The girl's eyes pop out for a minute, staring at the begging brunette. And no, I'm pretty sure he did. Even Henzu has to agree. Yeah, I did. She scowls at him while he smirks in response. I'm really, really sorry. Please, I'm begging you, don't report us. A fountain of tears gushes out from the brunette's eyes, so much so that it begins to soak through their shoes. Other customers notice and begin to move away. The girl steps back, avoiding the growing puddle. Ah, okay. She takes back her wallet. Izuku sniffs, regaining himself. Thank you. Henzu rubs his ear. You're too loud. The girl firmly grips her wallet. That said, I don't appreciate being robbed. Henzu opens his mouth, readying a smartass remark. But Izuku jumps back up onto his feet. Here, I'll make it up to you. We were just heading to the cafeteria. I can pay for your lunch. You can get whatever you want. It'll be my treat. Henzu isn't so sure it'll be that easy. Nice try, Izuku. But there is no way she'll accept. Her reaction is not what he's expecting. Her eyes are glazed over, glowing with excitement, as drool drips from her gaping mouth, as if imagining all the tasty treats she can have. You gotta be kidding. As the girl happily accepts the offer, the three teens don't notice a smelly man with a large box walking past them. Dr. Anemo gazes up at the pet shop a floor above them. He smiles, putting his crooked teeth on display. The round-faced girl holds her cheek, tongue sticking out, enjoying the delicious jumbo sundae that she ordered. It's so good. Henzu is sitting across from her with a plate of cheese fries. He's taken slightly aback by the result of his thievery. I wasn't expecting this. Izuku is sitting between the two, tears streaming down his eyes. All he has is a cup of water. My poor wallet, it's empty. Deciding not to feel down, Izuku attempts to distract himself. So, can we assume that all is forgiven? The cute girl nods her head, dipping her spoon in for another scoop. Oh, heck yeah, after taking a bite, she puts down the spoon. Oh, I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Ochako Uraraka. Hi. I'm Izuku Midoriya ANT. This is Henzu Uichi. Izuku becomes very nervous, now that he realizes that he's actually having a conversation with a girl. It's nice to meet you, Midoriya. Her smile turns mischievous as she shifts her attention to the black-haired thug. And it's nice to know the name of the person who robbed me. Now I can properly file a report to the police. Henzu growls. Huh, where was that confidence earlier? That immediately shuts her up. She pouts, making her cheeks puff out in annoyance. Izuku immediately jumps in, trying to mediate the situation. So, Uraraka, what brings you here today? The distraction works. Oh, I'm just browsing for today. Trying to get the lay of the land. She becomes embarrassed, rubbing her head. I actually don't have enough money to buy anything too big. Henzu sits up straight, deadpanning. Then why did you stand up to me? Lay of the land, did you just move here? No, not yet. Well, maybe. It depends on if I pass the UA entrance exam. The freckled-faced boy immediately lights up. You're going to take the exam too? Yeah, wait, so you're taking it too? This is so great. I'll know somebody, maybe we can help each other out. Why, yeah. Henzu throws his head back in exasperation. Ah, not another one. Ochako looks to Izuku for clarification. He doesn't like heroes all too much. What? Ochako can't help but stare. How could you not like heroes? What is there to like in the first place? Ochako looks ready to argue, but from the corner of her eye, she can see Izuku gesturing and shaking his head. Understanding that he's saying not to drag out an argument, she shuts her mouth and sits back. Izuku gives her a grateful smile. I don't get something. What's that? How are you two friends? She points at them. I mean, you're so nice while he's so mean. You like heroes and he doesn't. You follow the rules and he's a delinquent. Henzu grins and gives her a thumbs up, taking the insult as a compliment. I can answer that question, said Delinquents leans onto his friend. This guy, despite his hero obsession, is one of the most honest and loyal people I know. No matter what bad shit I pull or drag him into, I know he'll have my back. And I have his. Right, buddy? All right. Truth be told, Izuku is not sold with his own answer. Of course, he'll always have Henzu's back, but as for the honesty part, he's going to have to disagree with that statement. After all, he still hasn't told Henzu about his watch, or at least that he has a quirk. Sure, he promised 13 that he'd keep it a secret, but he did consider telling his best friend about it. Maybe he should say something now. If he gets into UA, then he's going to find out anyway. Plus 13 and him have already come up with a cover story. Hey Henzu, there's something I need to tell you. What is it? Before Izuku can tell him, a loud rumble and an eruption of screams resonate throughout the shopping mall. A cloud of dust and smoke emerge from the opposite end of the mall from the cafeteria. Some patrons, mostly those with small children, make their way to the exits as fast as they can while most of the bystanders stand and watch. What was that? Is it a villain? I wonder which hero is going to show up. Ochako is freaking out. Oh my god, what are we going to do? Henzu replies. He's really annoyed by how dumb some people can be. Leave, obviously. Henzu grabs Izuku by the shoulder and begins leading him away. Ochako fearfully follows them, unsure about what to do. While being led away, Izuku can't help but wonder what's happening. Force of habit is nagging at him to get his hero analysis notebook out, but there's no way Henzu is going to let him stay and watch. Ochako glances back at the smoke. Fear and surprise spread across her face at what she sees. Without a second to waste, she throws herself at the two boys. Get down! She shoves them to the ground with her, just as something big and screeching whooshes past their heads. Henzu, flipping himself over, snarls. What was that for? The teen's voice softens, staring wide-eyed at the monster flying above them. Izuku, rubbing his head, looks up and begins shaking in fear. Flying above the open roof of the mall is a monster of a bird. It looks like a giant 6-foot-tall cockatiel with gray sharp feathers, a jagged beak, and piercing red eyes. The mutant bird gives a terrifying and rattling cry before swooping down on the shocked crowd. People finally realize the situation and begin to panic, throwing the entire mall into chaos. The bird tries to snatch up a few customers, only to grab their bags, or miss them completely amongst the chaos, although it does manage to knock some poor people over. Izuku is shaking watching the chaos ensue. What is that thing? Henzu picks himself up. Whatever it is, I'm not staying to find out. Henzu gestures to a nearby emergency exit. It's gone unnoticed by the fleeing patrons mainly because it's in a narrow hallway between two food stalls. The three rush over with Henzu flinging the door open only to stop dead in his tracks with Izuku and Ochako slamming into his back. Izuku's nerves are really getting to him. Why'd you stop? Looking up, he gets his answer. A giant monster frog with horns is staring down at them with 4 red eyes. The 4 individuals hold their gaze, unable to look away. Never mind. And with that, the 3 kids scramble back through the emergency exit, just as the frog lashes its disgusting green tongue at them. Luckily, Henzu is able to slam the door shut before it can reach them. Catching their breath, they check up on the situation within the rest of the mall. It's a complete disaster. Although there are clearly less people around, there are still a few that are unable to escape the onslaught, for the entire mall appears to have been taken over by giant mutated animals. There are not only more mutated frogs and birds, but giant hamsters with spider-like eyes, mutated goldfish that have grown legs that look like a combination of fins and reptile feet, and saber-tooth-like cats with spikes protruding from their backs. Ochako is nearly in tears. What the heck is happening right now? There are monsters everywhere. Henzu is not able to come up with a reply. Even he finds the scene disturbing. Izuku's heart beats faster. His breath stiffens as he watches innocent people being attacked. Their screams and cries of fear fills his ears. They're begging for help, for someone to save them, for a hero. We have to help them. It takes the other two a minute to realize what he just said. Henzu spins around so fast that Izuku thinks that his head would have flung off. Are you crazy? Ochako speaks up as well, although she looks a bit hesitant, as if she wants to agree with Izuku instead. The heroes should be here soon. There's no need to put ourselves in danger. No, they won't be. If they were, then they'd be here already. What do you mean? That frog was guarding the exit. Not just to keep us in, but to keep anyone from getting in. Ochako puts two and two together. As in keeping the heroes out. Izuku nods, his eyes turning serious with worry. Yeah. Henzu throws his head back, really annoyed by the news. PHFT, typical, heroes are all talk and no bite. There's something else bothering Ochako. Wait, if that thing and others like it are on guard and other monsters are attacking, then that means this attack was planned. Yeah, there must be a villain running around turning pets into monsters, and is able to organize them. Probably with some kind of mind control. The greenette begins to ramble on into a storm of muttering. The muttering weirds out the chestnut-haired girl. He's really good at figuring these kinds of things out, isn't he? Henzu deadpans. You have no idea. Izuku looks out again. He spots a TV across from them. The TV is on the news channel and is broadcasting the attack on the mall. From what he can tell, several heroes have arrived on the scene. But as he thought, frogs are guarding the entrance, mutant birds are blockading the sky, and even monster fish are patrolling the sewers. Help is clearly not coming anytime soon. We're wasting time. We need to save these people. Henzu smacks Izuku over the head before hoisting him up by the collar. Don't be stupid. How are you supposed to help them? You're quirkless, after all. Ochako's eyes widen in surprise. She had honestly thought that there weren't any quirkless people left in Japan, at least those that are around her age. Yet he wants to be a hero. That's crazy, but also kind of inspiring and noble. Izuku's eyes shift downwards. Even if I'm quirkless, even if I'm crippled, even if there is no hope, I can't just stand by and do nothing. I have to do something. It's a hero's job to save everybody. He locks eyes with his friend, daring him to try and stop him, his soul burning for action and to carry out his words. Henzu glares back, feeling very frustrated right now. Izuku's words ring throughout Ochako's head. Save everybody. Henzu looks away, his hair blocking the view of his eyes. That's very admirable, it is, but you are quirkless. Henzu shoves Izuku against the wall. What do you expect to do? Go out there and run around like a tasty treat for all those things? No, I'm going to run out there and save them. Abandoning his reservations about his quirk, Izuku activates his watch. Henzu raises an eyebrow and Ochako stares in awe at the alien green glow emanating from the strange device. Izuku rotates the dial, finding the correct transformation, and slams the dial down. In a flash of light, Izuku disappears and is replaced by a blue raptor-like creature. You can stay here if you want. I won't force you to help. Henzu's mouth drops in pure shock, and Ochako's eyes expand in surprise. Oh, I'm not quirkless by the way. XLR8 stats a matter of factually. He then notices a mutant hamster approaching a fallen girl. Look, I'll explain later, but for now. A visor covers XLR8's face before he zooms away, leaving the other two in a very stunned and confused state. Henzu continues to stare as the morphed Izuku zips around grabbing victims before they can be harmed and getting them to safety outside. Henzu notices the TV broadcasting the news from it. He can actually see a blue blur moving in and out of the mall, leaving behind surprised and dazed people. His shock, however, turns into frustration. How could Izuku do this? How could he lie to him? Has he been lying the entire time? Was he just playing everyone? He'd be impressed if he wasn't one of the people being conned. Ochako is amazed at what she's seeing. Her new friend just shapeshifted into a dinosaur that can run at lightning fast speed. It's incredible, he's doing exactly what he said he would. He's saving everybody. But she thought that Duichi said that he was quirkless. Meanwhile, XLR8 is dashing across the mall, snatching up people left and right before taking them outside and away from danger. He considered grabbing a hero or two and taking them into the mall, but they are too busy preventing any mutants from harming the people he just saved or the crowd of spectators that has formed around the entire mall. As he re-enters the mall, a well-timed tongue lash from a giant frog trips, the speedster sending him crashing into a few tables in the cafeteria. Luckily, his helmet is strong enough to prevent a concussion, but his body aches in pain. Ouch. The frog croaks just before it lunges itself forward, its mouth wide open to scoop up and chomp down on the blue reptile. XLR8 flinches, his arms raised to protect himself, but nothing happens other than the sound of croaking moving away from him. Opening his eyes, he stares as the giant frog floats skyward into the air, while it struggles to regain its balance. That's when XLR8 notices Ochako, standing there with her hands raised forward. She couldn't stand by and do nothing. Izuku is out here and giving it his all. She can't stand by and watch as he gets eaten by a monster. With confidence, she presses her hands together. Release. The mutant begins to plummet, crash landing onto a small kiosk. XLR8 dashes over to Ochako. Uraraka, that was amazing. Was that your quirk? Is it gravity-based? Is it an emitter or a mutation? Can you use it on me? Ochako can't possibly answer the barrage of questions, especially since XLR8 is throwing them out a mile a minute. It's my quirk. It's called zero gravity. I can make anything that I touch weightless. She furiously rubs the back of head, feeling very bashful. Wow, so cool. The frog begins to stir. It corrects its orientation and lashes out its tongue. Acting fast, XLR8 grabs Ochako and runs away, allowing the tongue to smash into a table. The frog continues its attack with XLR8, just barely managing to avoid the tongue lashes. XLR8 makes a mad dash for the nearby escalator. It should take them up to the second floor and away from the amphibian. Before they can make it, one of the mutated cats pounces out from above, blocking their path. Unable to stop, XLR8 slides past the feral cat, slamming into the wall. He uses his body to cushion the blow for Ochako. The frog joins the saber cat, the two beasts growling as they prepare to maul the downed teens. The monster feline goes first, pouncing with its sharp black claws out and ready to slash them to ribbons. XLR8 instinctively moves to cover Ochako, while she herself cowers in fear. Get away from them. The sound of clanging metal bashes into the large cat's head, redirecting it and sending it crashing through the store window. A metallized Henzu, having absorbed the matter from a metal pipe, couldn't let those two idiots get into trouble without him. He's the ultimate troublemaker. It's an insult if he stays back and misses the opportunity to break those stupid quirk regulation laws. Plus, The prospect of fighting giant monsters is way too awesome to pass up. Henzu turns to the other two, who are staring at him in complete surprise. Don't gawk at me. We have some heads to bash. He backhands the frog's tongue away before it can hit him. Also, Izuku, we're going to have a long talk after all this. Ochako and Izuku look to each other. They nod in agreement before getting up. XLR-8 begins spinning around the frog, distracting it. It works as the frog tries to lash out at him, but misses every time. Ochako presses her hands onto Henzu's back, pushing him up into the air. When he rises above the frog, she releases her zero-gravity effect, and he plummets downward. He pile drives into the frog's skull, smashing it into the ground and knocking it unconscious. Henzu raises his fists into the air. I gotta admit, that was pretty cool, he proclaims, grinning like an idiot all the while. Ochako gives a big thumbs up. Yeah, it was. XLR-8 smiles as well, but a distant scream startles him. We're not done. There may still be some people left. Ochako frowns. You're right. We need to do something. We scour the mall and save whomever we can. Are you with me? Yeah. Henzu jokingly postures himself to look like he's thinking. Fine. XLR-8 smiles in appreciation. Then let's be heroes. The three unlicensed heroes make their way through the mall. Luckily, most of the mutants have migrated outside the mall to help prevent pro heroes from entering. That said, there are still quite a bit of them within the mall itself. With their speed, strength, and support, they are able to fend off, or at least distract the mutants, allowing XLR-8 to speed any victims away. Fortunately, there are not many people left behind. Each of them gets a moment to shine throughout the next few minutes. Within a clothes store, XLR-8 took a frog for a spin by using its own tongue to tie it up by running around it. In a video game store, Henzu punches a mutant hamster so hard in the face that he shattered its giant teeth. He also may have taken a game or two with him as he left. In a furniture store, Ochako uses her quirk to move a large couch that she uses to pin down a mutated goldfish with piranha-like teeth. Later, inside a bookstore, Ochako levitates a fallen shelf that landed on an unconscious woman. XLR-8 picks the woman up and speeds away. Ochako immediately barfs up what looks like rainbow glitter. The side effect of her quirk has finally caught up with her. Henzu fends off another mutant hamster. You all right? Ochako coughs. Why, yeah, I just need a minute. XLR-8 returns, tackling the hamster and knocking it away. I checked the rest of the mall. We can make a run for it now. Henzu reverts his skin back to normal. Was that a pun? Yeah, I thought it would be funny. Between breaths, Ochako chirps in. It needs work. Noted. Anyway, we'll do this one at a time. I'll get you guys outside, and we can leave the rest to the heroes. Ochako nods. If she tries to talk, there's a good chance that her breakfast will join her lunch on the floor. Meanwhile, Henzu walks over to a broken cash register. Grinning like a Cheshire cat, he immediately snatches up any loose bucks. XLR-8 bends down to pick up the round-faced girl who's covering her mouth. Good job, hero. He picks her up bridal style. Ochako looks away, blushing. Yeah, you too, hero. XLR-8 grins, but his delightfulness is cut short by the sound of beeping and a flash of red light. Izuku immediately falls over, with Ochako landing on top of him, as he returns to normal. Izuku has a hard time breathing with Ochako sitting on his chest. Ochako is too dumbfounded to move. Henzu finally notices Izuku struggling underneath the confused girl. What the hell happened? Ochako finally scrambles away as Izuku sits up. It's my want quirk. It's my quirk. I can transform, but only for 10 minutes. Cool, so just transform back. I can't. It takes another 10 minutes for my quirk to recharge. We really need to have a talk. Before Izuku can respond, More rumbling and animalistic cries shake the mall. Ochako chokes out in confusion. What was that? They sneakily peer out the store window, seeing even more mutant pet animals patrolling the mall. Large dinosaur-like turtles, horrifying lizards, and nightmarish rabbits. There's even more of them. Ochako whispers harshly as the three of them sneak back towards the end of the store to avoid detection. What's even causing this? A fixated look crosses Izuku's eyes. The villain. Henzu immediately recognizes that stupid look. No way. You can't be serious. Ochako is rightly puzzled. What is it? He wants to go after the villain. What? Izuku has the decency to look embarrassed. The heroes are still stuck outside, and there are even more mutants. If they get out, they can cause a disaster. Not to mention haunt people's dreams for years to come. We have to at least slow down the villain's plan until a pro hero can get here. Henzu can't help but be frustrated. God, do you have a death wish or something? Ochako doesn't agree with that statement, but even she has to agree with him. He's kind of right, Midoriya. You don't even know where the villain is. That's true. For all he knows, this may be a horrible accident caused by radiation or a secret government experiment that's gotten loose somehow. Izuku's mind fills with every possible detail, explanation, and question. What do they want? What are they after? What is their quirk? Where are they? Izuku's mind spins these questions around his head until it all clicks together. The cell tower. Ochako tilts her head. What? The cell tower. That's what the villain is after. Why do you say that? Nothing is being taken, not even the money. Henzu's eyes dart to the cash register that he stole from. It's true. The mutant hamster didn't even glance at the money. And even their assault. They weren't trying to keep people in, they were trying to chase them out. Izuku's reasoning begins to make sense in Ochako's mind. And look where the monsters are coming from. Ochako glances over the shelves, noticing that the monsters are all headed away from the same direction. From the same direction as the cell tower. Yup. Henzu folds his arms. But why would the bastard want the cell tower for? Control. He clearly lost Henzu and Ochako. If they can control these things, what's to say they can't control other animals, or make even more of them? Ochako considers the possibility. As she thinks about it, Izuku's logic makes more and more sense. What if this is only the first wave, the calm before the storm? What would happen if more monsters appear, or even if everyday pets go wild? The damage could be too great. The brunette nods, her hair bouncing slightly. Okay, let's go get that villain. Izuku is a bit surprised. He really thought that they'd be unwilling. Really? You sure? You don't have to do this if you don't want to. Ochako shakes her head. It doesn't matter if I want to or not. I have to do this. I can't stand the thought of people getting hurt by these things. I'm with you, Midoriya. Izuku gives her a grateful smile, one she is happy to return. Izuku glances at Henzu. He doesn't have to ask, but he does. What about you? Henzu looks away, feeling very annoyed and upset. You with me or not? Izuku hesitates before continuing. Or was all that talk about having my back a lie? Anger flashes in Henzu's eyes, and Izuku immediately regrets saying anything. Henzu ultimately gives in. I've got your back. He gives the shorter teen a small smirk. You know, I'm kinda proud. That was a really dirty trick you just pulled. I learned from the best. Izuku turns, gazing out at the ever-increasing threat as his companions join his side. Let's do this, guys. His eyes fixate onto the distant cell tower and their goal. It's hero time.